Welcome back to We Bought a Mic, a pop culture podcast, Listomania, best albums of 2023, part 2.
Great
2020.
Great to see you, boys.
And now you're walking through the door, just like 2024.
Wow, I'm surprised that you didn't open us that way.
Shit, I gotta believe. Someday you'll see. Someday you'll see that there's something more.
Why?
That's why you're so poor.
Yeah.
What are they yapping about, those guys?
I kept referencing that song for like 2.5 weeks, and I refused to actually put on the song for
until were you here when I put it on?
Yeah,
okay.
I was.
Oh, because
I
were
broke
here.
it fucking down.
The song is 2024 by Cage the Elephant off the album Thank You Happy Birthday from 2011.
You weren't here when we started playing 100 Gecs. We started blasting.
Why was that here? Wait, is that what got it into your top number 1 album of the year, Danny? It was listening to it in a live setting?
I'll reference that moment during when you guys talk about it.
Welcome. It's 2024. We're doing best albums. This is part 2. Go back and listen to part 1. We did 6 through 10. It's time for 5 through 1. I'm Ernest.
I have taken off my hat and my jacket to show that time has passed, and my name is Hunter.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm also, I've been drinking now at this point. Starting to warm up a little bit.
We just had a little pizza.
Little za. Ernest has moved to wine, which is a big step for him.
Wow.
He's really just embracing the acid
we're
reflux.
trying
Getting
it.
so close to 30, dude. It's so good.
Wine is 30?
Yeah, wine is
Wine
30.
is 30.
Okay. I thought it was like stout beers.
No, IPAs is 30. Stouts are 40.
Yeah.
Ugh. Stouts. Ugh. I'm Drew, and we have,
Stouts are delicious.
of course, resident guy with ears.
Yeah.
100 Gecs fan.
Like I said.
Do dolphins have ears?
Yeah.
Yeah, they can.
Yeah.
They can hear like hella good. They have like sonar.
They also get hurt a lot. They also make you cry a lot.
Yeah,
And they're native to Miami.
they tear their ACLs and their Achilles like crazy.
Yeah,
with these,
I know,
these
it's
fucking
crazy.
dolphins.
God, it's so painful.
Danny,
God.
Gotta
welcome
put those boys back in the ocean.
Good to be back.
for part 2.
Yeah, full week.
How do we feel about part 1?
Pretty good. I was kind of happy that some of my first 5 were save-its.
Okay.
I think 3 of my remaining are not going to be save-its. I think they're just me.
Okay.
So I'm excited.
You always have some shit that like no one's ever heard of that has like 100 plays on Spotify.
Every year I go on like a hero's, like I go into a fucking cave. And I come out wielding, like I killed like a buffalo
Yeah.
for everyone to eat.
This band has 5K listeners.
Danny, we decided that you start the round. So start us off. Number 5.
This is my number 5. I also jumped into it very late, kind of like I did with Squid, so it probably should be higher. I will be surprised if, I guess it doesn't matter because I get to late. Oh, anyway. My number 5 is 3D Country by Geese.
This is a phenomenal album. It's in my
Danny.
top 15.
Wait.
Nice.
Oh,
let's go.
yes,
Let's fucking go. This is a phenomenal album.
I'm so glad.
I can't
It's so
wait.
good.
It is so good.
It's so good.
This is one that I waited on too long.
Oh my
I
god.
should
the same thing that happened with Squid. It should have been higher. I just got to it too late. Same thing with Geese.
It's such a special album.
We got Squid and Geese.
Let's go.
What is
Hey,
this?
what?
Let's go.
What
This
is
is a
Skeed?
fucking zoo or something.
what is this, like a
Skis?
high concept gastropub?
We could have
Squeeze?
We could have another animal popping up later.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did Fish
sir.
release an album this year?
Yes. Okay, Hunter.
So
Number 5.
My number 5 we might have to wait on. It is Cracker Island by the Gorillaz.
Save it. That's another animal.
It is another animal. Oh, is that the other animal
Yeah.
that you're talking about?
I was thinking
And
about
so
a different
Fish
animal.
didn't release an album
Yeah,
this year.
it's
is what you're saying.
gorillas.
There's too many
Oh, I
animals.
thought you meant crackers.
We got,
Did,
It's like, how dare you?
we
did
got
Cuckoo
Squid.
Kangaroo come out with an album this year? Can I have an all animal top 5?
We should have
Swans?
mentioned if you're
Swans.
if you're a degenerate who did not listen to part 1, we are saving overlaps for whoever has it the highest spot on the list.
I do
go
want
back and listen to the first half.
I do want to say I said Cracker Island by the Gorillaz, and I just want to correct myself up front. It's not the Gorillaz. They dropped they talked to Justin Timberlake.
Oh, right. They saw Social Network on 35.
100 Gecs is cool, but you know what's really cool?
10,000 Gecs. That's good.
You don't make 10,000 Gecs without making a few enemies.
Now they should use that
that's
as the log line.
good.
That's good. That's good.
All right. What's your number 5, Ernest?
We're gonna have to save it.
What is it?
Scaring the hose.
Yeah, save
that bitch. So
did you feel sort of pressured by us to put it high on your list? Or did you really get into it?
We'll talk about it.
I'm sorry.
We'll talk about it.
So this is really quality podcasting so far. We've got to play a round of let's hold that for each other.
All right, Drew,
I got
home.
I got one here that really could be higher. It's No Name with Sundial.
Ooh,
wow.
Nice. This is my number 12.
I don't know what really hits me with No Name. She's just Telephone is I think one of my like 10 favorite albums ever from like 2016. I have never gotten sick of that album. It's so perfect in every way. And she is like grown as a person and as an artist and taken a way more like acerbic tone and like view of the world and like, you know, race and everything. And her last album, it felt like a tweener album, as we were saying. I think
Room 25.
Yeah. And it was I still enjoyed it, but this feels like a way more like fully fleshed out version of like the new No Name. And it rocks so hard. It's a great album. It almost, some of her beats and like definitely her delivery and the way, whatever microphone she's using, it hits me like the way people describe ASMR hitting them. Like it just like tickles like my brain. Like it just sounds so good to me.
Very articulate, very like precise.
Yeah, very articulate.
And quick. She speaks like her raps are quick.
Yeah, and you have, you know, the magic of Telephone was having some of that, you know, acerbic tone, but like wrapped up in these really, really like nostalgic, like homey sounding beats. And this has like one or two of those, but really the beats have sort of evolved in a good way to sort of sound more like what she's sounding like now. And I think the result is like nearly perfect. Like it's like really, really crazy good. There was like a weird controversy right when the album dropped.
Yeah,
about
the balloons J Electronica verse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I think something started happening in the Middle East and people forgot about that.
J Electronica joined the
Palestinian army, and
Jack FN is sending J Electronica to the Gaza Strip. The album's just it's really, really great track to track. It rocks. The only reason I wouldn't put it higher is because some tracks are definitively better than others, and that's not something I could say for Telephone. I genuinely think Telephone is a perfect album. And if you didn't get into it back then, you should give it a shot now. It's a very homey feeling. Like it makes you nostalgic for like a life that you did not live. And this album makes you angry for experiences that you have not had. If you are, I don't know, a white guy like me.
I really need to give this one the fuller listen. I kind of just grazed over it, and I like what I heard, but it didn't really sink in. But shout out to you should never listen to any other podcast except this one. But the Dissect podcast.
Oh, really?
One of the guys, they did a best of 2023 episode, and one of the guys, I don't know if this was one of their picks. I think it was. Maybe they did like top songs or something. I can't remember exactly how it came up, but this was like one of the picks on that episode. And the person talking about it, they were like, if Chance the Rapper released this album, it would be hailed as like the best album of the year. It is like it says a lot about like black women in the music industry that no one is really talking about.
And also I mean, she has her own desire to not participate in like sort of a mass. I'm trying to remember which song it is that really deals with that.
Namesake.
Namesake.
Yeah, Namesake.
It is
actively just being like, my name's No Name. I'm not gonna perform the fucking Super Bowl halftime show for you. Like,
and then I really like that song because it shows some growth from where she was at a few years ago too, where she talks about like how Beyonce still did Coachella or whatever, and she was like, yeah, and they still got me too, and it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like she's like,
at the end of the day, the check gets
really.
They add enough zeros on there, and
really biting lyrics in this album.
Oh, like that's what I'm saying. And this has been, and if you've been following her like as like a person, which I don't really follow her socials, but she pops up in the news every now and then because
she says something fucking mean.
Yeah, exactly. And she had a weird beef with J. Cole a few years ago, where like genuinely J. Cole kind of stepped in shit. Like it was truly bizarre. He said he didn't like her tone or something, and it was like, bro, you need to. Like he thought that she wasn't.
I can't say that.
Well, no, and he made they made like diss tracks about each other.
Yeah.
This was a whole thing, and he talked about how like she's she needs to be like educating the people, not like talking shit. And she was like, I have a book club. What are you talking about? And then he released a statement that was like, we are going to get along now. Like she's very like, I don't keep track and or like necessarily agree with every single thing that she says. But these are the songs of like someone who's insanely well read, and also like in terms of like poetry, because the reason I like her rap so much is because it sounds like someone who's reading poetry, but it's like way more rhythmic and like grounded in like a musical sound than most poetry.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like musically, the fucking instrumentals just rock. Like they rock nonstop.
The production's awesome.
And it's a really varied group of people she works with. I mean, Saba is on this album a lot, just like he was with Telephone. It's a lot of Chicago local people. She tries to keep things pretty
Billy
local.
Woods.
Yeah.
Shout out to my guy Billy Woods. An honorable mention for top 10 albums.
It's just like end of the day, like whatever noise is surrounding her, like holy shit, the album is just like really great. Like it's really, really good.
You mentioned Namesake. Beauty Supply and Toxic are also just stone cold bangers. I'm glad that you mentioned poetry, because that's kind of the thing that No Name makes her such like a wholly unique artist, is that it really has this like flow to it that it is, and this is gonna almost sound like I'm like a negative, but I don't intend it to be a negative, but it almost sounds like the best free verse poetry that you can ever hear like a local club.
Yeah.
Of just like you go to like a poetry night and them just like fucking going out there and riffing, just like spitting bars out there.
Exactly.
Like,
it's like,
let's go.
It's
like,
all,
that's what she's doing.
It's stuff that should be really annoying and pretentious, but she's just too good. Like she really is. It's phenomenal. Her level of talent. It definitely is like a very bookish person. And yeah, it it's corny, but it sounds to me like someone who is like writing the lyrics like by hand.
Yeah.
Like it has like a really natural feel to it.
Can we talk about the album cover?
Do you wanna?
It's weird.
You wanna talk about it?
What is going on?
Yeah.
Like it must be inspired by like Picasso or some crazy like
and also like racist caricatures.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, like minstrel show level type stuff. Yeah,
very much so. It's very like it just kind of like takes you aback.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to look at a little bit.
And again, she like I'm not qualified to speak on every single point that she makes. But I am qualified to say that I love how it sounds, and I really like her lyricism as well.
That's definitely a photo. Is that a photo of her that's been manipulated, or is that just a completely different person?
No, I think that's her.
Okay.
Could be.
It's one of those things where like I don't want to look at it, but I can't stop looking at it.
Yeah.
It like draws me in. It's insane. You could put this album cover like in a museum.
I mean, she's not playing the Super Bowl halftime show.
Right.
So.
Amazing. It's No Name. It's Sundial. It's Drew's number 5. Okay, number 4. Danny.
I don't remember if this is a save it or not, but Gorillaz Cracker Island.
You guys can talk about it. It did not make my list.
I know it was really close for me.
It is my number 5.
Okay, so
I think
close.
I think I listened to it too much early in the year.
Get into it.
You go for it, Danny. You.
I mean,
kick us
you
off
brought
here.
it up first. Go for it, King.
You had it higher, King.
Oh well.
All right, number 3. Moving on.
No, I think that this is like a true return to form for Gorillaz. This
Yeah.
is easily the best Gorillaz album since Plastic Beach.
Yeah.
I think like by a solid margin. It is. I think that's one of my biggest problems with Gorillaz albums the last decade-ish has been Damon's over-reliance on features, specifically with, I think about an album like Humans, which I was so excited for. That's truly like one of the most hyped I've ever been for an album, the Return Gorillaz album. And that album is like so many features that kind of doesn't feel like a Gorillaz album at a certain point. And this is just perfectly deployed features from everything from Stevie, Thundercat.
He got El Conejo Malo.
Yeah.
Of course,
Booney.
Bad Booney.
Bad Bunny.
Tame,
Yeah.
our boy Kevin Parker on the track.
Thundercat.
It feels, Thundercat. It feels so solid as an album. It's just front to back, all bangers, all the way through. And to be honest, like I still to this day, like Silent Running and Skinny Ape are two of my top songs. Of the year.
I love Skinny Ape.
The end of Skinny Ape is so
Yeah.
sick.
It goes
so
so
good.
hard.
It's so
So
much
good.
fun. I mean, I love the Stevie Nicks song, Oil's like one of my
Oil's
favorites.
so good.
Obviously, the singles, well, like there were like 5 of them, but I really liked Cracker Island. Obviously, New Gold was great. Baby Queen's another really good one.
Oh, Baby Queen's so good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm trying to see. There was another one I really liked.
10 songs, 37 minutes, baby.
Silent
like to
Running
see-
is just a catchy little groovy tune.
Silent Running's in my like top 5 to 7 songs of the year. I
Yeah.
love that song so fucking much. And
I feel like it would have been higher on my list if it was just more pure Damon. Damon was featured on a few albums. He did release the new Blur album this year too,
Mhm.
which I didn't like see. I was like, what? They're still doing things?
I think I'm good on Blur.
Yeah. But I mean,
I think
point is the
think I'm good
man
on
the man
Blur.
was working.
Yeah.
You know, the man was working. And I think another reason why it's not higher on our list is because it came out in February, was it?
Early.
February 24th. Yeah.
It was pretty early on in the year, so we had a lot of time to like sit on it and listen to it. But yeah, I think too many features kind of holds it back a little, but still excellent. I think the days of like Demon Days and is just, you know, we're not going to get something to
Yeah.
that level
Yeah.
ever.
I do think it's very tight though. And, like it's so much tighter than Song Machine, or I mentioned Humans,
The
or
Now
The now as well, yeah.
A
would
lot of
put
those are
this-
just kind of like they just have too much fat on them, and this is a very lean album.
I disagree with that. I really like the Now and Song Machine. Those albums, I think Song Machine made my top 10. I don't remember if the Now did. I would put this on a similar level as that. I think that Humans will look back on like a little bit of a stumble, and then they kind of got back into like, yeah, it's definitely a new era, but it's not like miss after miss. Like those albums are good. Go back and listen to those albums.
I like it. I think the difference is because I do think that Damon does find a way in these Gorillaz albums to bring out the best of the features, like no matter what. I think I like the pure Gorillaz songs on this more than I do on Song Machine or
Well,
Now
Song
Now.
Machine
like
is like all features.
Yeah,
I'm looking
like
at the
that's-
track list now.
I'm saying, like the Tired Influencer. You mentioned Baby Queen, Tarantula, Skinny Ape. Possession Island technically is featuring Beck, but that's like
Yeah.
a very much just a Gorillaz song. That is a pure, just straight up off of Plastic Beach. That song like feels like that could just be on Plastic Beach. I really, really love the sound that he is finding here.
Yeah, no,
This album.
it definitely. I was really hyped going into it, especially with the the 2 singles, which were Thundercat and Tame Impala, which is like almost
New
cheating.
Gold.
Yeah.
Almost
Great song.
cheating when you have those 2 features as your lead singles. But I really enjoyed the album. I think it's right there with their top. I think for me, it's like slightly worse than Plastic Beach.
Oh, that up there.
Plastic
it
Beach
really
is
high.
like an island on its own, and then comes Demon Days.
I have
and
Demon
comes
Days
everything
above.
else. But
Oh,
And then I have Plastic
okay.
Beach, and then right under it is this album.
that's the Good Kid versus To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like
Days
To Pimp a
plus.
Butterfly more.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
no,
I have this in my top 15. There was a
yeah,
reality.
I do too. It's awesome.
I-
It's a great album. I think a lot of the disappointment generally that people feel about Gorillaz is stupid because there's never going to be another 2002 when like no one had done that yet.
right.
Yeah.
I
Like
think that's
absolutely.
it's
When
holding,
they-
it's
yeah,
weighing it on a
There's too many
scale.
people
Yeah.
making music.
Yeah, like when he dropped Demon Days, it was like, wait, are you allowed to
can
do
do
that?
this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like what the fuck? It's like you can't. Yeah, if you're to do that nowadays, it's going to be way more like spacey and out there, and it's not going to hit the radio the way Demon Days did. That was just like, that was lightning in a bottle. But this album is awesome.
Can I say one negative about this album? I think the album cover is bad. I think it's a bad album cover.
I don't even know what it is.
It's kind of nothing. Like it's just
Oh.
it's just it's
like
our
a-
characters
house?
outside of like
A
an
barn?
outhouse kind of barn. In a year that I think has had some really good album covers, we've got a few coming up
Wow.
here that we haven't talked about. Yeah, it's a bad album.
This is actually, I think, your best take so far. I'm looking at it right now and I'm disgusted.
It's really bad. It's bad artwork.
It's fucking ugly.
Like I don't know how this is what they landed on,
I
but like
just
it's
feel
not
like
good.
it's just like it doesn't leave any impression.
it looks like an AI generated.
it looks
Gorillaz
like, it's
album.
truly nothing. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck I'm looking at here.
All right, that's Cracker Island by Gorillaz. It's Danny's 4, Hunter's 5. Hunter, where you're number 4.
My number 4. Let's get into it. I was mature for my age, but I was still a child. Group therapy.
Welcome.
This
I forgot to listen to this.
man, this band, Drew, you gotta check these guys out. It scratches that Brockhampton and really that Injury Reserve
Yeah,
itch
it's
of
right
just
there.
like this collaboration between 3 artists that you can tell each of them independently are bringing their own elements to the sound. This is probably like the best blending of genres that I've heard in an album this year. Whenever you have the pure hip hop, the pure pop, like there is so much pop in this album.
There's also pure club music.
Yeah, club dance electronica that's up in here.
Yeah, there's club music. There's R&B, which is really good.
Yes.
But yeah, like you said, like the hip hop and bars that come from this are excellent. I think TrumpPoppers.com is like one of my favorite songs of the year. It's so good. The music video is also one still shot too. It like pans back as the guy walks to the camera. It's so sick. Smiles is another one that I really like on this. But yeah, it feels like they came out around the same time as Brockhampton, and I think we want to compare them to Brockhampton, but they're kind of paving their own way because, I mean, having less of them, I think, is an advantage here. Every person's going to get a lot more screen time, and I think all of them,
less odds that one gets canceled.
yeah, less odds that one gets
Most
canceled.
likely. You never know.
And with 6 or 7 or 8 people in Brockhampton, there was always a point where you liked some more than others.
Yeah.
So, and I think here, all 3 of
Or
them. I'm
sometimes
happy to
you're
hear.
like, wait, which one is that one on this track? And then you have to pull up Genius and be like, who is that? Oh, that was that guy.
yeah,
That's
it's
who it was.
Joba. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they all do an excellent job of executing at what they're good at, and they also dabble into the other ones. Like it's cool. Like Jada Grace is singing on some of the hip hop songs, or Jada Pink is her name.
No, Jada Grace. You're
Yeah,
right.
Jada
Yeah.
Grace.
You're thinking Jada Pinkett Smith.
But yeah, it's it's a phenomenal album, and I did reference it really early on in the year, but as I kept listening to it, it just kept standing the test of time. It's an excellent album. Former Disney stars, I think 2 of them were on Disney. One of them was on TBS. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, if you're not able to look at-
Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon.
yeah, if you're not able to look, it's Drake Bell, SpongeBob, and one of the Angry Beavers.
And Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah. This album's so good, Danny. This was my Danny pick of the slate here. That you shot this one out in our mid-year list, and I listened to it, and it's kind of just. It's like borderline and no skips. Like it's kind of just front to back. You just kind of start it on track 1 and just play through,
Right.
it has such a perfect blend of these very like heady, weighty lyrics with
The
just
influences are all the biggest, like best artists.
Yep.
NERD for sure.
yes, a lot of
There's
NER.
Kendrick, there's Frank. It has that kind of like
There's
like Kanye trying different
There's
things.
Jada Grace definitely channels Ariana Grande.
Oh, yeah.
Everything at like Club Song and even Peak. Peak is just like the beginning of Peak is basically an Ariana Grande song.
Yeah.
But it's that mix of like these very like heavyweight lyrics. As you can probably tell by the name of the album, I was mature for my age, but I was still a child. They are really kind of getting into stuff that is heavier
child
than
star
you would
story.
expect. Yeah, it channeling that trauma and just kind of those set of expectations that are put on you. Like thinking about a song like Smile, which is the second track on the album.
My smile is drunken me.
It's that, but then also balanced with just like the pure bangers of something like That's My Check or Nasty or Hot. Like it's just like true, like you just put this on, just want to like fucking bounce in your seat as you are listening to this.
So Mitzel usually, my girlfriend, she usually isn't a big hip hop person. So whenever I play it, she kind of just tolerates it, like if we're being honest. And I played this album and it, I was like, this is like a new hip hop group. It's kind of like Brockhampton. She likes Brockhampton. And when it started playing, she was like, oh, I like this a lot. This is great.
Boy band.
Yeah. It's, I guess.
It's not boy band. It's two boys
I know. I'm
and
just
girl.
saying that Brockhampton liked to brand themselves as a boy band.
But like, I think one of the things that was like listening to this album is it was almost exciting. Like it almost feels like this is the first album to just what I hope. I mean, I probably felt the same way with Brockhampton, then was let down. But like this feels like the beginning of like a long, prosperous career between these guys. Like I cannot wait to hear how they grow together because like you can just hear like between like it's TJ Online, Jada Grace, and Swim are the three artists that collab together on this. Like you can just kind of hear how sonically they fit together so perfectly. Again, I think going back to your point that there's only 3 of them and not like 27 or however many ended up total being in Brockhampton. Like I want this to just be a trio. I want them to just stick together forever and be what Injury Reserve could have been if one of them didn't unfortunately pass away.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want.
It's just, it's hard with rap groups because it's not like your typical like trio band where it's like, I'm going to go off and just play drums with just myself.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just going to get...
They can all rap.
I'm going to get that guy to come over here and play bass for this track.
Yeah,
You could just pull TJ Online and just have him do a verse for whoever.
I think it's almost with the level of talent they have, it's almost inevitable that they become into the mainstream. I feel like it's going to be because of some of their club songs. And I hope they don't just do one genre next time. I think they're like the King Gizzard of like the hip hop side.
Hell yeah.
Where they do every genre really, really well. Like so I really hope they stick to their guns and stay doing everything because like keeping it broad can keep an like, I don't know. I think they do all 3 really, really well. All 4, honestly. Yeah.
It's incredible album. I like it really is vying for it's my number 4, could be like top 3. Like it's so good.
Yep.
I was mature for my age, but I was still a child. By Group Therapy is Hunter's 4 and Danny's 6.
Yep.
So we're at my number 4.
Hey, you know what? It's 16 tracks. I know that's daunting, but only 49 minutes.
Okay. I can work with that.
Yeah. What if I told you one of the tracks is just like it's just like a track 1? It's a nothing. It's a little intro.
It's literally called track 1. You guys, my number 4.
Mm-hmm.
You just decided that you were gonna talk shit.
What?
You decided that you were just gonna sweep the floor.
Did the Killers release an album this year?
With Damon Albarn, and that his side projects just don't matter. And I'm here to tell you that the new Blur album
Oh shit! Oh
See,
my
that's
god!
what I was saying.
is incredible.
I didn't say it was bad. That was fun.
I did. I brushed it off. And I'm sorry. No.
It's called The Ballad of Darren.
Is this your Fall Out Boy? Is that what's happening right now?
No. This, okay.
Are you in a chemical haze right now?
Let me describe this album to you. This is a Brit rock album,
Yeah.
but like what, 20, 25 years after Brit rock was like even a thing? When did Blur peak? Late 90s, early 2000s?
It was
97.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
90s.
No one asked them to come back. No one expected Blur to ever come back.
No one asked.
This album feels like, you guys remember Damon's solo album, Everyday Robots?
Yeah.
It feels like a continuation of that.
robots.
Okay. All right. Now you sucked me back in.
That is an incredible album.
This
One of
felt
my
a little
favorites.
more energy.
Absolutely.
This album felt like a little more energy than Everyday Robots.
Yeah, no, Everyday Robots is very much like a slower album, but this album has that slower, loungy energy. Like, yeah, there are moments where it kind of picks up the pace a little bit, but it's not I wouldn't look at the totality of this album and call it like a high energy album. It's very much like a more loose, like laid back album. The biggest thing with this is what Alex Turner wishes that new Arctic Monkeys sounded like. Like
Such a fall from grace.
if you listen to Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, an album
Bad.
I contend
It's bad.
will loop back around in the culture.
Okay.
And now The Car, which does not
which
exist.
culture?
So tell me
No.
about your thoughts on The Car.
It just does not exist. It just did
Jesus
not
Christ.
happen. But Alex Turner is trying to make Arctic Monkeys like this boozy, like loungy sound.
Yeah.
And
Starbucks band.
Damon Albarn nails that sound on this album. It's so like
It's a lot better than that, though.
Mhm.
Like a lot better than The Car.
well, he has cited in interviews that he was inspired by Alex Turner's singing.
Hey.
The way he sings on this album. So
Side boob.
Jesus Christ.
So I really, really like what he's going for in here. I enjoyed the Gorillaz album for what it is. This genuinely feels like he was more interested in this album. Like I could feel like his songwriting and
It's like when you watched like The Post and then Ready Player One, except for
You're like, oh, Ready Player One was Spielberg's
I
passion.
it's
think
like
with this
watching
al-
Ready Player One and then watching West Side Story
I think
or
this.
The Fablemans.
I think this
You're
album
like,
had
oh, Ready Player One was his passion.
it had it for him. I think a Blur project had way less expectation than a Gorillaz album would.
Yeah.
And I felt like that's why he was much more free with it. And I do understand what you mean by how it was like, it's much more, it felt like he was less constraint with it. So I that's what I liked about it, and it did. I think for me, the principle was Gorillaz or Blur, and I put Gorillaz,
Right.
I did it. This is one of my top 15. So I was like surprised that this is out of left field. I did not.
And I'm
expect
not
you-
even 30 yet.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
my brother, you're ready.
Well, I have a chair for you.
I thought you weren't ready because you're anti-Death Cab, but now you just like put a fucking Blur album in your top 4 of the
Did you get your cane in the mail yet? Did they
It's
send
coming.
you that?
It's coming.
Okay.
It's coming. It's
good.
coming.
Do you have like chiropractors? Are
Did
those
you-
covered under insurance?
Oh, well,
Or-
so we're learning now that we're getting close to 30, that chiropractors are actually a sham.
Chiropractors are they're a scam.
You got to
yeah.
do PT. PT is different than chiropractor. So chiropractors are actually
Are they snake oil salesmen?
They
for
just
you
don't
now?
have an incentive to make you stop coming to them.
Here's the
is-
thing:
is sort
just
of the
go
issue.
to a chiropractor that also does PT, that does
Okay.
both, because then you get both.
okay.
Get
I'm
a
not
man
going to
that does you
plug my
both.
chiropractor live on the podcast and give free press, but
Blur, the new Blur album is great. It's 10 tracks and 36 minutes.
You became a short album guy.
Jesus.
This is
So-
another sign of turning 30. You don't want anything to last longer than
And
45 minutes.
Ernest hates the film Babylon now. He's like, Babylon, it lingers too long.
Well, I'm still
not a
29.
fan.
I still like Babylon.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let's not get ahead of
All right.
ourselves.
Are you ready to admit that I was light years ahead on my Mank take?
Are you
that we need to watch it on 1.25.
Are you watching like May December on 1.5 speed and you're like, oh, now this fits?
Well, I think it's different with music than film. I think I'll get
music you will listen to at 1.25 speed, just like your podcast.
The fact that you like movies so much means you've been 30 your whole life.
right, exactly.
No one under 30 likes movies.
Exactly.
That's true. That's me every time I try and talk with my young coworkers. I'm like, hey, you guys watch the new Todd Haynes film? And they're like, I've been watching anime since I was 12.
Yeah, they're like, if I
okay.
look away from my phone, I think about killing myself.
Is he on TikTok?
Yeah,
Todd
I
Haynes?
don't know.
Should I follow him? No. Check out the new Blur album. I'm telling you, it's really fucking good. Really great, like catchy guitar licks and things like that.
Yeah.
Like it's not overcomplicating itself. It's just how do we do a great like Brit rock album? You know, not experimental, nothing fancy, nothing
fancy.
crazy.
Yeah. It's what we want.
Yeah,
what the people want.
Just put it on and you'll have a good time. It's literally one of the best albums of the year. Like I really valued. I was trying to find a balance between what kind of push beyond the bounds of genre and what just did a genre great.
Mm-hmm.
And this album just does a genre really well.
I have one of those coming up here that I completely, when a band or an artist finds their lane and they fucking nail it, you're like, you fucking nailed it.
You didn't try anything.
Thank you.
Just did your thing and you fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
Like bullseye, right?
Good job.
So that's Blur. The name of the album is The Ballad of Darren. Guess who Darren is? Their longtime bodyguard.
Darren Aronofsky.
And he's on the album cover swimming laps
Cool.
in the pool. So
That's old guy shit.
that's my number 4.
Man, I want to hit the old guy swimming laps era of my life.
I can't wait. I'm excited.
It's gonna be great. My core is gonna be incredible.
Drew, number 4.
Pine Grove,
What the fuck? Pine Grove came out with an album this year?
a live album.
Oh my god.
Oh, you
Does this
teed
count?
this off mic.
It was released this year. I can do whatever the fuck I want. This is the first ever live album to be included in one of these lists. I think very deservedly so.
Are you going to talk about the TikTok moment?
That's
Pine Grove.
I'm happy for them for this. The Pine Grove Shuffle became a big thing this year.
Incredible.
From a really old Pine Grove song. And it became a bit of a trend. Love to see it. I've been a fan of Pine Grove for a long time, and they've had like they had a weird soft cancellation of their frontman, like maybe like 4 years ago. That
I
like
think you talked about.
truly,
this
I
on
read
the
so
pod,
much into it because I was really interested because it seemed like a really strange situation. All in all, it turned out to be sort of a nothing burger. Like it was sort of like a really unfounded like deal that happened where like he almost canceled himself preemptively for being like a bad partner,
right?
And everyone was like, "Oh, we thought you were like a rapist, bro. Like you've been in hiding. What the hell?" Pine Grove fucking rocks. They're truly this frontman Evan, whatever his name is, I think is maybe one of like the, speaking toward people who write like poetry, he writes poems and just like sings them. Like it's very, very thoughtful. He's another dude who's very famous for like wearing like literary influences on his sleeve with all of his songwriting. He's a book guy. And on top of that, like their songs and their production across their discography really lends itself toward a live album because they have crazy dedicated fans. Like their fan base is wild. Like they're thousands and thousands of people have this little 2 squares tattoo on them. Like obsessive people. Their songs are, because the lyrics are so forward in the production, like you really hear his vocals. Everyone knows every word to every song. And you can hear the crowd in the album.
Nice.
It's awesome. It's really, really cool. And on top of that, their albums are not like heavily produced in any way. Like it's all, sort of like indie folk rock. You're not getting like, we're not missing out on like, some like insane sonic quality or like synthesizers or something with a live album. Like it sounds phenomenal. The album itself is called Montclair, live at the Wellmont Theater. I think it's like a platonically perfect live album. It's everything that you would want out of them. It really does. It also functions as like a greatest hits for Pine Grove as a band, which is really cool. Even though I hope that they're not like wrapping up anytime soon.
Probably not after this TikTok thing. I mean, Need 2 is gonna hit 100 million plays on Spotify.
That's absolutely insane. That was not even a remotely popular song of Pine Grove's before this year. Yeah, it really, that's what happened. That was sort of the legacy of the TikTok moment, is they re-released like Need 2 as like an EP, which included, they were like, fine, we're all in, like we'll do the hyper
fast and
we'll
slow.
speed it up, we'll slow it down, whatever the fuck you kids want.
TikTok is insane, dude.
Yeah, and so because everything so far, which is I think maybe their first album, it's from 2015, that's the one that has Need 2 on it, was not their most popular album at all.
Someone just found that riff. Like, that's the thing with TikTok, is like all you need is the 5 to second section of a song and just do a silly dance.
Yeah, because
and it'll blow up.
Their quote unquote blow up indie album was Cardinal the next year. It was 2016, which has Old Friends on it and Aphasia, which are like, in my mind, they like the simplicity of the music. It's like classic rock in my ears.
Yeah.
Like it really like. It has like a twang that I think puts a lot of indie people off, because it's a relative of country music for sure. But in the same way that like Neil Young is a relative of country music, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, you need to sort of, if you hear a slide guitar and you start panicking and you're like, ah! Like, you need to relax a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, it's Americana, I guess.
Danny, do you know what TikTok is? I'm still 29, so I can tell you if you want to know.
I only know the Facebook Reels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember Vine? It's just like that.
Well,
but
there's a dance.
longer.
There's a dance that the youngs are doing.
It almost is similar to another Drew band, but like how a Pavement song that's like not even on a full Pavement album then got picked up into the Spotify algorithm years ago.
Is that what I'm thinking of? The leaning.
No. That's the Pine Grove Shuffle.
No, that's the Pine Grove
He's
Shuffle.
talking about.
I'm just talking about that whole phenomenon
This
of
is
like
called
just an artist releasing music years later and then it just happens to get picked
Oh,
up.
okay. But that
Like
wasn't
a
that wasn't
relative
specific.
indie artist.
The what?
Did you say the Pine Grove Shuffle?
Yeah, it's literally just people in a really disaffected way doing like a really like
like back and
emotionless
forth.
like little like dance to this Pine Grove song. It's like a 5-second long video.
Yeah,
basically.
there's some guys that nail it.
Yeah.
Like the bounce, the way they move their body back and forth, and then like wave their arms as they move back and forth.
Yeah, and again, this was not a particular hit song of theirs, but now it is. Now it's like the hit, which is really funny. Yeah, and you were talking about "Harness Your Hopes" by Pavement.
Yeah, that's the same type of thing where
Yeah.
it's a band that
The
that is
algorithm
not
takes over.
Yeah.
not a popular. It wasn't a popular
That-
Pavement song on release. But
That
then it
said,
just gets
though,
swept up.
this I like a good live album. Most of them aren't good, and this is a really, really good one. It balances everything I would want out of an album. It gives you like those goosebumpy moments where just everyone is singing along to the song, and it sounds lovely. And they have a lot of songs that lend themselves toward that. If you haven't gotten into Pine Grove, just listen to the album Cardinal first, probably, because that album is just like, it's like a little mini greatest hits in my mind. Like it's really, really phenomenal.
2016,
It's really good songwriting. Like this guy is super, super tight.
So that's Montclair parentheses live at the Wellmont Theater from Pine Grove. It's Drew's number 4. So we're at number 3, top 3,
Top
Danny.
3.
Here we go.
Can I use my lifeline where you guys don't make fun of me?
You're not allowed to look at
Here's the
any of
thing.
your notes about 100 Gecs then.
Is it Jamiroquai?
I just want to promise before.
I'm not, Danny. Here's the thing: I'm not going to make you a promise because
Oh,
I know
Pretty Lights?
exactly what you were going with.
Oh shit! Here we go. Pop off.
Yeah, do your thing. I'm happy for you, King.
It's my big day. Bombay Bicycle Club.
Oh, okay.
I thought
You're fine.
I thought
And
Chance the
now
Rapper.
we
for a second.
were
Is there
horrified.
I thought you were about
space
to
for
pick
Pretty
like
Lights?
the
Pretty Lights-
bootleg, the 18-day bootleg recording you recorded on your phone at the Pretty Lights concert.
Pretty Lights did not release an album this year. However, I can't wait for it to come out.
It's coming out next year, and
I-
then we can go ahead and save the number 1
to
spot.
to
for
preface
Danny
it,
Lewis.
I saw Pretty Lights had a comeback tour after what 7 years.
You spent
And
31 days straight, right?
no,
watching them?
just I went to 8 tour stops. Okay,
Jesus
I went to 8 of them.
Christ.
But
Fucking
okay, so it was
hell.
3 nights in Atlanta, 3 nights in New Orleans, and then 2 nights at Halloween. So it's not that bad. You know?
Oh no.
You know? It's the return, man.
And you're like, these Swifties are fucking crazy, man.
No, I think Pretty Lights fans are way more crazy. Like, I mean, I don't know. I've seen some Facebook reels of, Taylor Swift fans. But anyway.
Facebook Reels? You know what? You're really
What
proving
the
you're 30-year-old now. We're talking about TikTok, so you said you watched Facebook Reels.
BBC, baby.
Yeah, BBC.
Let's pop off.
Bombay Bicycle Club, My Big Day. We were horrified by No Name's album cover. This is way more horrifying. Take a look at that bad boy.
Oh, I remember you set this in our group chat, and we
Yeah.
said, I'm happy for you. And I think I might have listened to it. and I can't
It's like a
promise.
guy in broad daylight with 2 giant eggs.
I kinda
on his
like
lap.
that.
He's got egg on his face.
That's
But,
kind of a fun
considering
vibe.
The artwork of their previous albums, like this is just
This
such
is
a
so
drop
weird.
off.
It looks like an album cover for like the Bloodhound Gang.
Yeah, I really like this band a lot. I think they're just a fun indie band. For me, they're just some songs that really stuck out for me. Meditate is probably it was my number 1 song this year.
Newly for Yanya
Yeah.
feature.
Our boy Damon Albarn is
Yeah,
on this album.
Our boy.
Chaka Khan is on this
Oh,
album.
Jay
My
Som.
God.
Yeah, Jay
got
Som is on this
oh,
nice.
album. There's a song "Turn the World On," which is like a very like nostalgia '90s vibe, where you're just like very reminiscent of like your youth and how everyone like kind of took care of you, and the world turns at some point where you need to start taking care of others, and it's kind of like sad watching them wither away. But that's like the one song that hit me the most. But the rest of the album is just about having your big day. It's about having
Not the big day.
Not to be confused.
yeah.
My big day.
Yeah, it's my big day.
Yeah.
No Chance the Rapper nonsense. That was terrible.
No.
But yeah, this was an excellent album. I mean, the Damon Albarn song is excellent. Damon Albarn is actually the one who got him in contact with Chaka Khan
Of
to have her.
course. That makes sense.
Yeah. And Chaka Khan nailed it. Tekken 2 is another absolute banger. It's like almost like Asian themed song, but it's like groovy at the same time. It's sing-alongy. It's a really fun album. I hate the title track. I do not like. My Big Day, just not worth your time. But I think a listen through, it's really worth it. It's a British rock. They're an indie band, British rock. It's fun. It's probably my favorite since A Different Kind of Fix. So like 10 years ago.
I like their album, the 2020 album that they released.
Yeah, that one was good too.
It was good. It had some skippable tracks in it, but it did have a few tracks I
I
liked.
didn't know that they were English.
Oh
So-
yeah, no, they're
so
British.
they're called
crazy British.
They're called Bombay Bicycle Club.
They're actually like huge overseas. Like they headline festivals. Like they're massive over there. It's like Foles, the same thing.
Yeah.
Foles are massive
Bestie.
over there. Yeah. But yeah, really fun listen. I loved it a lot. I had it on repeat. I think Mitzel secretly doesn't like that. We have like a vinyl wall, and I think she secretly doesn't like that I have it on the wall.
This is a little
Mitz.
horrifying to
Yeah.
put on the wall.
I think it's
Yeah.
a great addition. I love it.
Speak for your
You're basically a
fucking
throuple
self.
when that thing's on the wall.
Bombay Bicycle Club, My Big Day is Danny's number 3. Hunter.
BBC with my BD.
Mm,
How long were you holding on to that one?
just
just waiting for it.
Just
waiting
pop
for the
that
time
one
to
out.
shine.
All right, what have you got, Hunt?
Let's get into it. Rat Saw God by Wednesday.
hey.
My number 3 of the year.
Yeah, it's really sort of an unfaultable album.
Here's
like
the
front to
thing.
back, it's just sort of perfect.
This album came out in, I want to say like March or April. It came out in April. This has been the album that I've returned to the most this year. Like just sporadically throughout the course of this year. I'm pretty sure that whenever my Spotify came out, I think that every single song on this album ended up on the list of my, because it's just a front to back. I just throw on fucking Hot Rotten Grass Smell and just listen through the whole thing. It's a no skips album. I think one of the things that really resonates for me about this album, and I don't know if this is the same way that you felt, Drew, when listening to it, but this like album makes me very nostalgic for Tallahassee in a weird way. It has this
They're
like
from North Carolina.
they're from North Carolina, but it has this suburbia feel to it, of this like yearning for more, but just kind of stuck in this suburban vibe. It comes across most clearly in like a track like Chosen to Deserve, where it's just like me and my friends getting up to just like stupid shit because we just like have to huff paint to feel something in suburbia. Like it has these kind of this southern twang mixed with this classic like indie shoegaze, just
kind of country.
Yeah, very country twanginess to it.
I would yeah, it's really post grunge in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Which I think that reminds me of Tallahassee, because those bands had a stranglehold on our radio stations, and this is such a good like play off of those.
Yeah. Well, it's so much more than that. I think a lot of it goes to Carly Hartzman, who's the singer-songwriter. Her lyricism and songwriting is incredible. Like her storytelling on each of her songs really do just paint this incredible picture. And I think that's one of the things that makes it feel nostalgic. It almost has this like this feeling whenever you're watching it of looking at old photographs of yourself. Like that's almost the best way that I can describe it.
Yeah, like, and how like every time you do it makes you laugh.
So I think you posted this in the chat, right? This album.
Yeah, but I think you had already been like deep into it, Hunter.
I've been listening to this album since it came out.
Like, and I was like, holy shit! I just found this, and like, oh my god! And you're like, yeah, dude, where you been?
I saw it on a list, and my one take from it. I mean, I agree with a lot of the things you guys are saying. This podcast is about to make a lot of enemies. I hope you're okay with this.
I don't know if there's a lot of like Wednesday heads that are going to come after you.
No, it's gonna get racial or something.
No, it's gonna offend other people. This is what I wanted Phoebe Bridgers to be. Like this album is so good.
Listen,
you need to calm the fuck down right now.
I didn't spend a lot of time with it, and that's the only reason it's not on my list. But when I listened, it felt so powerful. Like
you did make a lot of enemies, and they're in this room right now.
I was gonna say I disagree with that, because I think Phoebe is very different, and she's interested in doing different things. Phoebe is very much from Southern California.
She should be what we want, not what she wants.
Here's the thing: I want Phoebe to keep cheating on your boys. It makes better content.
I can't remember what song. Okay, so TV at the gas pump.
TV at the gas pump
is a really good
Closer.
one.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that she's like borderline screaming.
Oh, Bull Believer.
Bull Believer.
Yeah.
That song is 10 times better than, what is it? This Is the End by, or
so
it's the end off of Punisher.
Yes, it's I know the end, and
and you're talking about a perfect song.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and you're talking about a perfect album.
No,
so
but
I need you to slow your roll a bit there, because Punisher is the best album of the 2020s.
For me, like Phoebe Bridgers got so much praise. And then I listened to this album and I was like, is this what people hear when they hear Phoebe Bridgers?
It's hitting in the way that you wish that Phoebe.
Yeah, that's I agree with
I get what
that.
you're saying.
Yeah, that if you were to have said it that way, I would have agreed more vocally.
Because you said it from a way of attacking and dismissing Phoebe Bridgers, which I think that you are outcast on. You don't have to wait for the reply guys to come after you. You're gonna have 3 guys in the same room with you coming after you. But
that's how I feel about Boy Genius. That's how I feel about Phoebe Bridgers. Like this album it scratches that itch, because like Mitzel will tell you, I love like sad girl indie rock. Like it's my fucking shit. Like I listen to a lot of like
Clayro.
Yeah, Clayro, Beach Bunny, Japanese Breakfast, like Snail Mail. I love that shit so much. But this like scratched that itch that propelled. Honestly, if I would have spent more time with it, it'd probably be around 2 or 3. But
yeah,
it's just
same.
Yeah, it's
like you're correct here, Hunter. You really are. Like you were on it like really early. Like, it's just a great album.
It truly is just an album that I have not gotten sick of it once. Where even some of the albums that am gonna have higher than this, or well, I guess we're now getting down to the nitty-gritty. But other albums that have been in my list here, I've been like, I like this album a lot. I need to take a couple months away from this. This has never been an album that I felt this way with. This has just been an album that's just been consistently in my rotation all year long. And I think it's because there's a really awesome mix of sound in here. Like you mentioned the big bombastic sound that you'll get in the song like Bull Believer or Chosen to Believe or Chosen to Deserve. And the end even to something like Turkey Vultures, which is just a perfect crescendo of a song that just gets like starts small and just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it just explodes everywhere. Then we have like more of a slower ballad and something like Formula One. Danny mentioned like the classic indie rock sound of something like TV at the Gas Pump. Just like front to back, it just sounds so cohesive. It sounds like such a complete thought.
Yeah,
a complete like retrospective at looking at your life growing up in a small town in suburbia and what that has brought you to at this point in your life.
Yeah, it's a step up from Twin Plagues, which I loved. Like I was a fan of that album, but this really hits in like a really special way, and it's getting its flowers critically.
I was gonna say I'm so happy to see that like everyone has kind of been like, this is one of the better albums of the year.
Yeah.
Like this isn't just a indie heads top album of the year. It's like on fucking variety lists and shit like that. Like that rocks.
Pitchfork had it at 4.
They're playing at the Social, which is a very small venue in Orlando, and I'm almost like I was really excited for it at first to hear that they were playing the Social, and now after seeing on the list, I'm like, God, that show's there's gonna be so
way
packed
too many
of people. But I can't wait for it.
The album cover. It's like a beautiful painting.
Yeah, great
It's
album
good.
cover.
Yeah, really quality. It matches the vibe. It has like a dark grungy.
I will say the top 3, all I think 10 out of 10 album covers.
Ooh.
Yeah.
If you get to the
If that's
Social early enough, you can get a chair and a table. Just saying.
Danny, I'm a spry 28, so I'm gonna be right in that
Hunter,
fucking
yeah,
pit.
Hunter bought us tequila shots at fucking Scaring the Hose.
Yeah, I sure did. I paid like $68 for 3 tequila shots.
And Danny did not want it.
And Danny, I said, you're gonna fucking take it. It's Scaring the Hose.
I bought you guys tequila shots at 100 Gecs.
That's yeah, exactly. You just
Ugh.
Ernie, if you would have been at Scaring the Hose, I would have bought you a tequila shot.
I fucking should.
I will say,
even doing?
I do low key agree with you, Danny, that like this hits in a way that I wish that a lot of Phoebe projects would hit for me, because I know she's so talented, but like musically, sometimes I'm just like wanting to. I'm wanting it to hit me better.
Once again, Punisher is the best album of the 2020s, and I'm just gonna stay.
All right, and you're also a bisexual ally for that.
Also year 4.
I'm pro cheating if it's not me and my relationship.
Yeah, you're pro.
I'm pro cheating for the content.
You're pro polycule.
We are in the 5th year of the 2020s, and you're gonna say that already?
So,
all right.
Number 3.
So Wednesday is Hunter's 3. My number 3. You know, there is a reality where this is my number 1, but I didn't want you guys to laugh me out of my own house.
Hey, I was scared that you weren't gonna say this, and I was gonna be like, Ernest, you need to live your truth.
It's King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
That's not what I thought you were gonna say.
I knew that this was going to be on one of your top 10s. I'm just glad that made it.
What did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were gonna say Lil Yachty. Ernest, live your truth.
Ernie,
you love
Ernie.
that fucking album.
Don't worry, I got this under control. The album is called Petrodragonic Apocalypse, or Dawn of Eternal Night.
Oh my god.
On annihilation
And
of planet
you guys
Earth and the beginning of
fucking-
merciless. What's the rest?
Jesus Christ!
This is why
It's so
Are you
fucking
kidding
long.
me?
It doesn't
Are you
even
kidding
fit.
me? And
it
you're
doesn't
just
even fit in.
And you guys
freaking
try and like
Spotify.
fucking clown Coheed song titles, which are album titles, which are literally like
Well,
a quarter of that.
Actually, they came out with another album
Jesus Christ!
Yeah,
called The Silver Chord.
which is also fucking cool.
Everything nice I said about psychedelic porn crumpets, I'm taking back. Now.
So
Oh my God.
I can't, in good conscience, put both albums in one slot.
Didn't you do that last year?
No, I went with
You
because they
never
put
just-
out
you just
5.
grew-
They put
you
out
just
5
put out one.
albums.
You're
Okay.
not legally allowed to do that. You never let me do that.
What? Put multiple albums in
Yeah,
one slot?
at
No.
one slot.
So I am gonna go with the Silver Chord.
Wow. Okay, that's surprising.
Yeah, I think that Petrodragonic Apocalypse is the better album in terms of like the track that Gizzard has
instrument-
been
yeah.
laying. Like everything they've been building up to, like you know that they're gonna make an
It's-
amazing like heavy metal album.
It's Infest the Rat's Nest Part 2, and
Right.
it's fucking sick. It's like
it
better.
bangs. It bangs. But I love the Silver Chord because they've never made a full-on electronic album.
It was
before.
so adventurous. If you would have asked me a year ago, what's their next move? I don't know what polka maybe, but I would have never thought it was electronic.
Every song is full electronic. Like they did not use any guitars. Like they kind of threw out everything they've been doing the past couple of years or maybe ever out the window. And they were just like, talk about album covers. I fucking love this album cover.
Oh, it's them with the red
they're
glasses
surrounded
That's sick.
by
That's a cool. That's
by
a really cool album
synthesizers.
cover.
and analogs. Yeah, it's sick.
Just to let you know, this is what we're doing on this
Yearly
album.
reminder: there's something in the water in Australia. There's
Like,
something over there.
You guys, I'm sorry. Like I can't help myself. I listen to this and it's amazing. It's incredible.
You know what I did after the first listen? I got the full album. I deleted all the non-extended mixes.
Oh yeah, they
And
also
then
put out an 88-minute extended mix.
And then I only did the
These guys
extended.
gotta chill.
It's sick. It's really good.
Here's the thing.
It's actually really good. If you would have
I
taken
think
the name
editing
away,
is important. I think that editing is a lost art form,
they
and
give
we
you a
should bring
standard-
back editing.
They give you a standard version too.
Okay.
which is
yeah, they
only
give you a
28
standard
minutes.
version for like the lighthearted casuals.
They-
but that's not us.
It was produced by Zack Snyder.
Jesus Christ.
Jack Antonoff.
If you wanna loop in Petrodragonic, I think that it gives you the two halves of what you want from Gizzard, like the heavy, just insane thrash metal, booming, massive songs with this new thing that they're going for. I mean, Petrodragonic is only 7 songs for a total of 48 minutes.
I think every time you mention that album, you have to say the full title.
He's mentioned the time for every single album that's been brought up.
I think he has dice in
At
his pocket.
48
He's
minutes,
afraid to
this
tell
is
us.
a quite loaded album.
Bro's busy.
Yeah, I mean, look, when I'm trying to cram leading up to this, if an album is like over an hour, I'm probably not.
Well, if you stop writing down how
Jesus
fucking long they are,
Christ,
you have way more time in your day.
Yeah.
Petro. Oh.
Silver Chord just it gave me a different flavor of everything I've gotten to love about King Gizzard. They were my number 1 last year, and all the sounds I find in the Silver Chord are sounds that didn't exist in Omnium Gatherum.
It's weird how they're like it feels like they're almost paving the way for like electronic music because it's so different. It's nothing that's like happening right now. You know, when I first listened to the first track, I was like, what is going on? This is not King Gizzard. And then I kept going. I was like, oh, there's something here. You know, it's a really fun listen. And it's like, don't go in expecting like your traditional electronic music where it's your build up, your drop, the vocals. It's just like, it's fun.
It's like this.
It's not
droning-
fucking Pretty Lights.
It's this droning layering, and it just they keep the beat going, man. It's insane. I couldn't have doubted these guys embracing synth and electronic music. I mean, it's crazy, dancey, just grooving. I loved every minute of it. Judge me if you want. I don't care.
No,
I'm gonna live my truth.
No.
It's King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. That's my number 3.
Okay.
All right,
Well,
Drew. Number 3.
my number 3 is something no one here will judge me for. It's 10,000 Gecs.
Let's
Can we get into
fucking
it?
go.
I went through. Oh, Danny's getting his notes app out.
yeah, I got my notes.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
Wow, God, Danny, your
wait,
font is
Danny.
so
No, you guys
Danny,
can
you can
go
tell us.
and
You can tell us we can hold it.
So shout out to friend of the pod, Brett. I almost wore the shirt that he gave me.
Get.
It says Anthony Kiedis sucking on my penis.
That
Mhm.
rocks.
That's fucking bars.
And I didn't
dude.
wear it because
That's
I
so
felt
sick.
self-conscious about the camera filming.
If Danny Brown said that, you would love it.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually true.
So I almost had a bit of a crisis with this album because I don't like Hollywood Baby. And I know that's weird. Like it's a universally like it's the most popular song on the album. I'm pretty sure it's generally liked by even. It's not like it's not like fans of 100 Gecs are like, yeah, but not that song. Like everyone likes the song. I don't like it because it feels too simplified to me.
Yeah,
like it's
too safe and accessible.
It's making the formula too reachable. And the reason I went through a crisis, and I was just texting friend of the pod Dane about this because in my like algorithm on TikTok, I kept getting this like super like industry plant band who have a direct ripoff of Hollywood Baby. Like it's not even.
I'm at the crib going crazy.
There's literally. And it's just them. It's like if you just took all the wrong lessons from 100 Gecs and you were like, oh yeah, like they're so stupid. You can just like do this. And so I was having like a crisis of like, oh my God, like this is what like their impact is. And then I was like, oh wait, no, this is why they're good. Because if you just mindlessly try to replicate them with all the exact same elements, you can't. It sounds like fucking dog shit.
Yeah. This is an album that shouldn't work.
Yeah.
None of it should. I mean, and I think that their best two songs are not on this album, but I think as an album, this is really fucking fun to listen to all like front to back. It's more accessible. It doesn't have entire tracks that are just like sound effects, like just like hitting like a MIDI keyboard.
Yeah.
And it's still doing the thing that I love that Dylan Brady does, which he takes sounds that like you've heard like one time in your life and he melds them together with other sounds that you would not think would work together. Yeah. Like there's
like the Star Wars like TIE fighter sound effect.
Or even just like specific synth sounds. Like he has a really good ear for those, which is why he's like a sought after producer. Like the main synth in the beginning of 757 is like an early 2000s like Cascada synth. Like that is exactly. Like that is a sound I genuinely haven't heard in a song since like 2004. And yet it's a great synth. Like it worked in hits back then. And he found a way to put that in this song where then he uses like these crazy like noise, like almost like reverbed out drums that are just like it's like he's blowing out a speaker with the drums. Yes. None of it, like it's not something that I would think of like trying to make music. And that I think that's why I really admire him as like a producer.
And seeing them live, I think we should mention that's one of the highlights of 2023.
Yeah.
An incredible live performance where they basically just play the songs. Like there's not a lot of variation happening, but they take on a new energy when there's a crowd, when everybody is into the music and just feeding into it and giving them that energy, I think is absolutely incredible. I mean, I think this album is almost like a new kind of music. And I know that
I had like a Giorgio Moroder and Daft Punk, like this is the sound of the future.
And I know that
to this music.
You guys are really into the first album, and you were saying that with that album too. But I think that album was very much still very experimental. I think this album manages to be a lot more palatable and listenable and approachable. And I think there might be people out there that might not like that might think that it's been sanded down a little bit. But you still have all these influences of ska and punk and electropop and even like new metal. And yet it feels so new.
It's just like,
it truly should not work. Like the melding of genres like you're talking about between the like...
It makes no sense.
This like ear-piercing sense of Dumbest Girl Alive and 757 with like this traditional California pop punk of Hollywood Baby with these like... Not just like ska, but like very like silly ska tracks and like Frog on the Floor.
Like, it's like a goofy album.
Yeah, it's very like...
They're being silly folks.
Where they come from.
It's so goofy.
Knows.
So this was my most anticipated album of the year. And I do think that in a lot of ways, this kind of surpassed all of my expectations for like what this was going to be. My only knock against this album is that it's less than 27 minutes long. I know that, Ernie, you're all for brevity this year.
10 songs, 26
It is 26 minutes and change long. Amazing. Like, it's basically an EP, and I love that. But the whole thing while listening to it is I was like, please give me more of this, because I love what they're doing. I love what Dylan is like coming into. I love what Laura Leese is like, her sound that she's reaching together. I actually disagree with you about like the best songs being not on this album. I do think Hey Big Man, which was a EP release with Skrillex, is one of my favorite tracks they've ever released. But I think Doritos and Fritos, if there's just like somebody's like, hey, who are 100 Gecs? That might be my go-to song that I put on for them. That's a song where it's
great intro.
It's showing a taste of 100 Gecs. Like, I'm not giving them the fully sanded down version of Hollywood Baby, but it's also just
That song is so crazy.
Banger.
It has like the bass line in it is like prog, like it's like black MIDI bass line. Like it's like,
but mixed with, again, talking
It's
about
so
stuff that you never
weird.
hear before. It sounds of like a guitar as you were like the feedback of a guitar in an amp.
It's like you're missing all the notes in Guitar Hero.
That's literally the sound that it's making, but mixed with truly like the bass line of the year. Let just go so fucking
and then,
hard.
Oh, and then the reason it all ends up like sounding like a song is because like he's really good at melodies. Like because then later on it just comes in with like do 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 do, which is just like that could be a pop song in like the last like 5 decades. That's a really good melody, and I've never heard that exact one before.
Love it.
Danny, do you want to bust out your notes up?
What do you got prepared?
I have no comment. I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Oh my god! Oh my fucking god!
We put on Me 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 at New Year's.
Oh my
and
god!
we fucking thrashed to it.
No, the thing is, I
And
remember
Dumbest Girl Alive.
I remember when you guys put that on, and I had one moment where I connected eyes with Annabelle, and I was like looking at her like, what is going on? And then she starts singing it, and I'm like,
you're alone
too?
here.
Really?
You're
No,
fucking
no.
alone.
I'm like, you too?
I love you, baby.
Anything about me?
Listen, this album truly, cannot express how I've been excited for this album for fucking 3 years now, since we first discovered 100 Gecs in like the pits of COVID, and like this it finally came through.
They're just being silly little
love it.
folks. They're just being funny little silly little gays.
Music can be just anything you want it to be. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Truly
It
incredible.
can be a goofy gang. 100
Gecs. The album is 10,000 Gecs. 1 million Gecs coming soon?
It's
100,000
It's gonna have to be
100,000.
100,000.
Okay, you're right.
Think about how crazy that one's gonna
$1
be.
million.
It's gonna be so sick.
$1 million.
That is Drew's 3. It is Hunter's 6 and my 7. All right, we are back to 2 for Danny. Number 2.
That was your 3.
Yeah, number 2.
This Is Why
Okay, let's get into
by
it.
Paramore.
Wow.
There was a point.
Yeah.
There was a point where this didn't make my list, and I had to be real with myself. And I know, again, this was one of the ones where I probably listened to it a little bit too much in the first half of the year and had to wean myself off of it. But now coming back to it for this episode, man, this album rocks.
It rocks. It's very cool. It's a really unexpected direction, like an artistic direction that isn't for the purpose of anything, but just like that's what she wanted to try to sound like. And I think that's sick as fuck.
Yeah.
I think You First is one of my 5 songs of the year. It's like,
yeah, that whole
that's a killer single.
That whole second half of the album really resonated with me, because the first half of the album I think is a lot more kind of up tempo, like a little bit catchier.
It's that post punk thing.
Yeah, and then everything in track 6 through 10, I think, really slow down, kind of get a little bit more, kind of mellow.
Can we comment on the length of this album, though, guys? 36
minutes, 10 songs.
Wow. Thank you, Haley.
Incredible.
Jesus Christ.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's
They did it.
I remember we had a fight about this mid-year. This is my favorite Paramore album.
It's incredibly well made.
I think young me would have liked Riot more, but I think at this point I'm 32. This Is Why is my favorite album of the Paramore era. It's so, I don't know. It's weird. I think I said this at the mid-year pod, but she grew up with us.
Yeah.
You know, it was like we were young, emo, like punk, like wanting to get out of the house kind of thing. And
Now we're a little bit more beaten down.
Yeah, now we're a little, we're older. We've seen some shit, and it's a beautiful album. I think they mess around a lot with the instrumentation. One thing that
it's
also,
very well produced.
Yeah, one thing that also added on to me making this my number 2 is the remix album.
Oh, nice.
The remix album,
Which has features on it, right?
it has insane features.
Yeah. Phoenix no, it's not Phoenix.
No, it's not Phoenix. It has Foals on it.
That's what it is.
It has Panda Bear,
Yeah.
freaking Animal Collective. It has Wet Leg, Domi and JD Beck
Love Wet
Nice.
Leg.
is on it. Remy Wolf, Rami
Love
of the XX, Julian
it.
Baker of Boy Genius.
Love it.
So, and they just remix all the songs of the album, and I think they're all spectacular. That could have been its own album and would have cracked my top 10.
Right.
But this is why the original is just as excellent, and like as a pure form, it's excellent. I love the album. I love the direction she's heading. It's just we saw her live at Bonnaroo.
Oh,
She had
that's right.
excellent energy. So
With
much.
Grohl.
Yeah, she played.
How do you feel that like this is probably it? Paramore's like breaking up.
I heard something about that.
Yeah, they they released like kind of an ominous press statement of just like, we have finally fulfilled our duty with like our
With the record
studio
company.
Is that
obligation
a
with our record company.
Is that a record thing?
No, but it's just like we're all ready to kind of do our own things. Was basically kind of the takeaway.
Paramore
So
is
if they are
addicted to breaking up.
if they're if
but
they
see-
aren't fully breaking up, they're taking a break for a while.
Now, the only way I feel like that could happen, and honestly, she kind of is the face of Paramore. She can do that with like anyone.
She,
Oh,
I mean,
Haley?
she kind of
Yeah,
did.
Haley
there
absolutely
there was,
she's
I mean,
dating
never forget Airplanes featuring B.O.B.
she's dating the guitar.
Peak featuring
So
artist.
when they break up, she'll find another guitarist.
the
And
original. I don't know if they end up coming back. The original drummer and like guitarist or someone both quit, citing that they like hated her.
The-
Jeez.
like way,
This
like back
current
in the day,
drummer
way
is
back in
really
the day.
This current drummer is really good too.
one of my favorite things about this album is her voice.
Yeah.
She continues to be unparalleled when it comes to her singing ability.
Yeah, and there's really not a lot of polish put on it, like in post production on this
Right.
album, which is cool as hell.
Yep.
Like I was saying earlier, I found a lot of value this year in what you can give me in the span of a single track. And I think that all 10 of these songs give you a lot with each track. I think that there's just a catchy hook in almost every single one of these. Like this whole thing has a really tight, punchy pop punk feel. And also, we talked about this before, but like kind of a finger on the pulse of the moment, like the divided America that we live in, isolation, just feeling like we're as connected as ever, but also as divided as ever, I think is really prevalent in this record. But yeah, I mean, I can look at this track list and kind of sing every single song in my head, even for a few seconds. Yeah. Crave. Yeah, like it's
Banger.
it's very, very accessible, very palpable. And I do think that there was a stretch there where I felt like, I can give another album a spot on the list. This one's played its due for the year. Let's give the spotlight to someone else. And then in preparing for this episode, I was like, no, this is one of the best albums of the year. Like
Yeah.
they really, really nailed it with this. If you're a Paramore fan from way back, I think that you're going to find a lot to love here. And if you've never heard a Paramore song ever before, and Misery Business is the only thing you can say you marginally know,
You'll
there's a
probably
lot
still
for
like
you.
it.
There's a lot for you
Yeah.
here. This is a very listenable record.
I will say that one thing that I've always really appreciated about Paramore is their ability to redefine and reinvent themselves, especially like when you go back and look at something like Riot, which is truly like one of the most definitive emo pop punk albums of that era in 2007.
Yeah.
Riot is like, I love that album whenever it came out, like in middle school, high school, whenever I discovered Paramore for the first time, that album, like that, you can hear the traces of it even to this day on emo pop punk music that's coming out. Then on something when they kind of transition more into a pop sound in something like Brand New Eyes and they're self-titled. And then I like back in the day was singing the praises of After Laughter, their 2017 album, which is them trying to do like their version of this 80s pop, almost like a this like kind of glossy techno-y like club 80s pop sound that's so synth heavy and so unique and different that I love that album to this day. And this is something that's so wholly unique from any of those sounds they've had before. I think that this is still in my top 20 albums of the year, and I still really love this album a lot. I thought some of the lyricism is a little bit millennial corny, and I think that some of that's just more so me than anything else. That's just like big man, little dignity. Little big Donald Trump out here again. And it's just like, it's like a little bit of that where it's like, all right, calm down, guys. Like I get it. I get what you're doing here. But like, I think that musically it's incredible what Haley is doing. Like you talked about before, like I think that she's pretty much unparalleled when it comes to like her singing ability. Sonically, this is so good. Their melodic melody is just at another level. Incredible.
And if we talked earlier this year about how like there's like she's drawing from like almost like Block Party and bands like that at times. If you want to get into like the weirder side of this album, like the really like unpolished sound, genuinely check out like Deerhoof, who like didn't make my final list, but they put out a good album this year. And for a more accessible one, Pompoko. Listen to the album.
Nice.
Because the album Cheater from 21. Like I heard some of that in this album, and that's a big compliment.
I mean, we brought this up when we mentioned Olivia Rodrigo, but Paramore has influenced so many artists, and it's tough to say that their new album is notable when there are other artists that are arguably like much more adventurous when it comes to creating new music. But again, it's like if you can do the thing that you do and you're not trying to expand, but you're just doing that thing and you're really good at it, I think it's worth praising. And I think it's beyond just doing the thing that they do best. I think that
I think it's
better than a lot of their other stuff.
I think it's bringing her ability to like write some fucking hooks into a sound that isn't known for that at all. And I think it's a really cool combo. Like it works.
This Is Why by Paramore is Danny's number 2 and my number 8. So we're at your number 2, Hunter.
So I will say this whole list, like top 7 I said was pretty much like all incredible. My top 2, I think, are the albums that whenever I look back at this year in music, I'm going to think about these albums. I think both of these are 2 definable albums. The first one, I'm going to have to wait on. It's Scaring the Hose by JPEGMafia and Danny Brown.
I knew it.
Not my number 1.
I knew it.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Incredible.
You knew it.
I know it.
Okay.
Okay, so that comes back around to me. My number 2 is The Record by Boy Genius.
Yo! Oh my God. Number 2.
Come on, boys.
Let's fucking
What are we
go.
doing? We're talking shit about Phoebe Bridgers right now?
Don't you fucking dare. This is in my top 15 of the year.
I liked parts of the album.
Okay.
I didn't like
parts.
I didn't like
you
a lot.
hate the Phoebe Bridgers part. You listen to it and
No.
you're like, she's a fucking
My
cheater.
favorite song is probably Satanist.
There is a reality in which this album is my number 1. I think we'll get to my number 1, but I think this is, in my opinion, the best produced album of the year. Guys, these 3 ladies.
So good. It's so good.
They're all cool as hell. I love me some Lucy Dacus
I think the
solo albums.
The trio is arguably way better than just Phoebe Bridgers for me.
We got
Jesus Christ, dude. Fucking.
I like all 3 of them together more.
we got Phoebe, we got Julian Baker, and we got Lucy Dacus, and their harmonies are so lovely, so beautiful. The song True Blue, I feel like I could listen to that song
so good.
forever for the rest of my life because their 3 voices together are just literally music to my ears. Literally, it's incredible. It's so heartfelt. Like you can feel these songs in your soul. It's so incredible. And yeah, the lyrics are really tender. I feel like these songs paint a very vivid picture in your head as to what they're trying to convey. The wordplay is very subtle but very unique. And you just feel like it at any given moment in any track, like you know exactly where you're at. You know what emotion you should be feeling. Should you be feeling happy, sad, longing, angry, angsty? Like they really carry you through a lot of different emotions throughout this album. You get the kind of heavier stuff you expect from I know what's the song called? I know the end. $20 I think kind of
$20
reaches
so
that
good.
What's
that
another one I
peak
had?
there.
Not Strong Enough is another one I really liked.
Yeah. 42 minutes, 12 songs.
I really love
What the hell?
I really love the ballads on this
They're-
album too. Like I know it was a single coming out, but Emily, I'm Sorry is so beautiful. That's just like Phoebe just fully in her bag.
Yeah,
Doing the Phoebe shit.
as much as I love the really hyper energetic, abrasive stuff this year, I found a lot of value in albums like this that just really bring the tempo down, let you kind of just sit in this beautiful mellow tone. I couldn't get enough of it. This is going to be one that I think about for a long time. Nobody else had it. I'm shocked.
Ernie, this was borderline my number 9, number 10. It was right there vibing on the like on a different day. This could be number 8 on my list.
I think
I really like it a lot.
I felt guilty. I think I needed to correct for not having Phoebe's album in my list at all.
Yeah, you didn't have Punisher at all in there.
Yeah.
I think Drew and I were the only people in the Punisher hive. And in hindsight, I had it too low at number 3 that year.
I want to shout out Julian Baker and Lucy Dacus, you fucking dorks.
Listen, all three of
Did you
them
see
are
the
incredible.
SNL performance?
Night Shift
They rocked it.
Night Shift by Lucy Dacus is like one of the songs.
Mhm.
Like it's so crazy good. I didn't get as into this album as I wanted to. I feel that way about a lot of Phoebe type music where it's like I feel like I'm almost not cool enough in some weird way. It's like,
Yeah, it's okay. You're old.
I guess. Also, like this whole like timestamp thing you're doing, there's really you can, I guess when you turn 30, you can really branch into two paths where like one is like being very economical and then the other is becoming like a prog freak
Yeah.
who wants like 3 hours.
Drew's like specifically only moving to like math prog music and like reading war history books. They're like 1,200 pages long.
Oh yeah. No.
I want my albums less than 45 minutes. I want my movies more than 245.
Let's fucking go, brother. I can ride with you on half of that.
You
battle.
gotta find a balance.
Put that on a shirt.
You know what? Here's the
Bam
thing.
shirt.
You know what? I feel that way about.
That's actually
I think
true.
TV shows should get shorter. I think all TV shows should be 30 minutes, and movies should all be over 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I can ride with you there.
I love Boy Genius. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. I do think this is a very easy album to recommend. There's a lot of stuff we talked about this podcast that like I wouldn't show to just anybody. I feel like the record by Boy Genius.
Hey,
Is,
you haven't thrown on 10,000 Gecs for your parents.
yeah, no, that was our Christmas dinner.
You're like
Soundtrack. Love it so much. It's Boy Genius. It's my number 2. Drew,
Well,
number
Danny,
2.
Danny, you know what it's time to talk about is Geese.
let's go 3D country.
I forgot you had this. Okay.
This is genuinely one of my favorite rock albums in the last like 10 years. Like it is such an out of nowhere album because this band didn't sound like this like 2 years ago. They decided
Projector is such a different sound than
Well,
what
and
this is.
Projector is the sound of a band that's trying to sound cool. And then like 3D Country is them being like, you know what? Let's just like let loose. Like let's have fun on these fucking tracks. Let's sound like however we want to sound. And the result is such a breath of fresh air for a lot of different reasons. I think the biggest one is, for me at least, is I was flabbergasted by the vocals.
The vocals are nuts
on every single track.
Yeah.
They're so forward. They're like the main thing you hear in every single mix. And he is going for like a big, silly, like he sounds like he's like a carnival barker sometimes.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Black Midi last year, where it's barely even singing at a certain point.
It's just, but he does have like range.
Yeah, he does have
Like
range.
he hits notes and he goes like all over the scales. Like he's going through like 3 octaves of sounds, and he has a super like elastic, like rubber bandy voice. Like it's such a dynamic, like strange performance in every single song. The whole album really, like, it keeps you on your toes the whole time. Like
Yeah.
it's so all over the place. It's like,
In terms of like the instrumentation, it goes like indie rock goes like blues, country, southern rock.
exactly.
almost.
Yeah, it's like exactly. Like there's a good amount of like Rolling Stones.
Definitely that first song is Zeppelin.
Yeah,
that
and like-
is
Yeah,
100% Zeppelin.
21, 22.
And like, you know what, because they bring in a lot of sort of like almost like it's like 3, like you can imagine like Rolling Stones backup vocalists. It sounds like 3 ladies just going like da, 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 da. Like, you know, like in like I See Myself, like that's
then
just
they
like a
slow-
Rolling Stone song.
Yeah, they like slow it down and he gets like real with you for a moment. Like
Yeah, it goes so fucking crazy. It's cool to me because there are a lot of bands, especially, and even they did before this, that try to hide their sharper edges with a bunch of filters. And that's even bands that I love do that. You know what I mean? Like King Giz has a lot of songs where it's like you don't even want me to know what this guy's voice sounds like. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's being put through like 3 chorus pedals on a guitar board. And that's fine. Like I love a lot of bands who do that, but like this is in such stark contrast, and it feels like it's intentional. It feels like they were like, no, we're gonna, like, we have all these weird like prog, like southern almost influences. Like there's like a lot of jam rock in here, which I'm not even a big fan of, but you can hear some Dead and like even like some Fish. It's so insane, and it all works for me because they are like at their core like cool, like a cool like Brooklyn band who like, you know, they were in the scene of like trying to sound more like Television or like Talking Heads sometimes.
Yeah.
Like they were trying to be in like and have all those really just the cool influences, and they were like, no, we like a lot of different music. Like let's sound like all of it.
Did you listen to 4D Country as well?
No.
Dude, it's more. It's awesome.
more.
It's like if you love 3D Country, you're gonna love 4. It's
You
like
know-
it hits just as good.
Ernie, if you haven't listened to this album yet, I
You're
know
really,
that we're gonna get into Squid here, and if you like Squid, then you have space to listen to Geese, because I think that they
Yeah.
occupy a lot of the same space, especially like sonically. Like both of them are really channeling their inner Isaac Barak vocally, where they're just like, we're kind of gonna do a little bit of Modest Mouse
Right.
affectation, but very different in the music that is playing around.
It's just a mix of like it's a mix of like every subgenre of rock music and
Yeah.
like every decade of rock.
You know,
music.
I got a lot of parquet courts
yes.
Yeah.
from them.
Oh yeah, there's a good amount of parquet courts.
his vocals are like very zany.
Yeah,
While-
I almost thought they were Australian because of there's like that
'Cause they were
Australian
good.
psych rock sound to them. Yeah, like they sound like a lot of the bands out there. Like you know what I mean? Like there's a desert feel, like, you know, the album cover obviously. Like it feels it I don't know. It feels so elastic. It feels so bendable and surprising, and I really needed like a rock album like
Oh,
that.
is that an Oppenheimer reference in the album cover?
Oh my god.
Got a little
can't-
mushroom. We got a mushroom cloud.
I can't really name any like highlights specifically of the album because there's no skippable songs. It's pretty much banger after banger after banger.
The first 4 tracks from 2122, which you highlighted, to 3D Country, Cowboy Nudes, and I See Myself, which are like the 4 most popular songs
Yeah.
if you listen on Spotify, but like those are all just
Who
incredible start to an album.
who
right
played Undoer at
Drew.
New Year's? Was that you?
Yeah.
Must have been.
Undoer.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole like I
Um,
said, the whole album is phenomenal.
Yeah,
It's
it's
great.
It's nuts. And then like there are really understated songs, like Crusades is one of my favorite songs of the year, and it's like a
D'Amato.
It's
a good one.
it's like a super like sort of pared back like simple like rock track. It almost there's a good I googled who produced the album because I could have sworn it was Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age.
Oh,
Yeah.
I could have sworn it has sort of like a universal like desert kind of stoner feel. It turns out it's a guy who's produced almost every Arctic Monkeys album.
nice.
So it's got
Did he make the car? Did he produce that?
he did
Probably.
do Tranquility Base.
Oh,
Which is a good album. We
Which
will
is
find out in about 10 years.
All of our favorite Arctic Monkeys album.
They were
Yeah.
ahead of their time.
So
Okay.
I like I said before, this album I found it so late. This is like an October fall in. If I would have had it when it came out, this easily would have been
It's
Top.
yeah.
It's
I was
Like,
like
it's-
yeah. I sent this album to like a couple of friends just to be like, hey, am I crazy or is this like really really good? Because it's not hitting a ton of lists or anything. It's just like I don't know. Everyone wants to be very curated right now, and I understand that. And that there's something very there's a lot to speak up to having like one lane and an image and being cool, but like. This sounds like guys who got really tired of trying to be cool, and they were just like, let's just rock out.
there's no like structure. It feels like these songs have zero structure and they're just kind of like do your thing. And
Let's
like the
rock out.
front man is what sells it.
Yeah,
but the
'cause he's-
instrumentation is just as great.
I want to look up the frontman's name. I want to shake
like
his hand.
It's like Clarence. No, I don't remember. It's
Clarence.
I forgot.
Dominic DeGisu.
That's so close.
I was close.
He really, he's just going so absolutely crazy. And I really love the idea of them doing this right after their last album, which was, they were a really, really hyped up band. Before their last album came
I
out,
just
they
checked.
were
Projector was literally at my number 11 in 2021.
yeah, and it's not bad at all.
Yeah,
like
it's
it's a good album. It's just it sounds like other stuff. And this doesn't sound like a lot of other bands that are out right now.
Their guitarist is stepping away for academics for a little bit. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah.
What the fuck? They are super young dudes. Like they were really, really hyped like 2 years ago when that album came out. And that album, it didn't like hit the way people thought it would. It didn't become like a smash or anything. And then they were like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's let's do some tabs.
Awesome. It's 3D Country by Geese. It's Drew's.
Not Goose. Goose is a different band.
Right.
entirely.
I made that mistake earlier.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Goose.
Fun.
Goose is also good.
Right.
Goose is
I've
a
listened to
great
Goose.
jam band.
Yeah. Goose is great. I've
When
seen
you're
Goose.
30, you're gonna
Mul-
love them, dude.
Okay.
I've seen Goose at multiple music festivals,
Right.
whether I wanted to or not.
Have you seen that video that Mitzel has of me dancing to Goose at Halloween?
It's really good.
It's like me just drunk out of my mind, and I'm like, I have a pashmina and a bucket hat. It's like 1 a.m. and there's bubbles around me, and I'm just like
And
jamming
Goose
the
is
fuck
just
out.
going in.
Goose is going, but Geese
Well, this is Geese.
way different.
It's
but
3D
awesome.
Country. It's Drew's 2 and Danny's 5.
Yeah.
All right. Number 1.
Number 1. We made
Here
it,
I
boys.
mean, I
Go.
think at this point we just go with it. I have stop staring in the house. You don't want to hear the we shit no more.
Scare in the house.
Let's get into it. Let's talk it. It's your number 1, Drew. It's your number 1,
Yes, man.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
and it's my number 2.
Well, we should save it for last because I know we've got something fun over here.
This is still probably like by aggregate the highest an album's ever been on our collective
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
Right? 1125.
I'll check
So
the
here's
stats.
the thing.
That's got to be the highest ever.
Yeah, that's
Here's
got to
the
be
thing.
the highest for sure.
It was my number 1 until last night.
What?
Until,
You sound like me.
No, until I was kind of real with myself,
In a
and I had a
little
moment.
haze.
First off, fuck Elon
No,
Musk.
it's not that. We can. All right. So we'll hold scaring the hose conversation.
What do we
My
got?
number 1 is an album that I sent it to you guys, and you just let it pass you by. Just didn't even give it an acknowledgement, a listen, anything.
Number 1? What
My number 1 is Why Would I Watch by Hot Mulligan.
Oh.
So I think that this album is like the magnum opus of what pop punk and what emo and post emo can be in 2023. I think that like if you are a fan of the genre, even if you are like a passive observer of the genre, I think this album is worth your time. What makes it stick out and separate itself more than any other punk or emo album is that it feels like more of a cohesive thought and a cohesive idea and a singular concept than pretty much anything in the genre in the last 20 years. And I'm not being like, I'm don't feel like I'm exaggerating whenever I say that I think that it's this and then maybe Somewhere City by Origami Angel, but I think that both of them are accomplishing very different things. Where Somewhere City is a little bit more mathy, proggy. They're bringing in more different influences. What Hot Mulligan is doing with this album is just going kind of, I don't want to say down the middle because that sounds dismissive, but they're delivering just pure pop punk emo bangers, like banger after banger, track after track. And the thing that will stick with you whenever you first listen to it is this punchy emo riffs and these earworm choruses that will just get stuck in your head as you're listening to them. But what kept me coming back to it over and over again is some of the like most poignant lyricism that I've ever heard in an album of this genre. I think that like there's so many themes that are profound, and sure, there's like the classic traditional emo hallmarks of like strained relationships with parents and with family members and existential dread, things like that. But there's also these grand ideas of like this idea of like nostalgia and wanting to like yearning for that childhood feeling and wishing that you could go back and replicate that feeling that you had as a child, replicate these same experiences that you had as a child, but knowing deep down that nothing is going to hit as hard as it did the first time. Like nothing is ever going to resonate with you in the same way. And you kind of just have to like grow up and deal with that. And through that, how do you deal with that? Because a lot of the times we don't deal with that in the most acceptable ways. One of the big other themes of this album is turning to alcoholism. Like that is a really, really profound thing that the lead singer is kind of constantly coming back to. And it turns out in a way of like both like this bombastic explosion and something like one of the first tracks on the album, the second track on the album, where it's just like blackout, can't I better now, like just kind of really singing about just like blacking out and getting drunk to deal with their family, to like using alcohol as a coping mechanism to just be around your friends and to kind of deal with social situations and social anxieties, to this really profound, kind of deeply sad as you listen to it, ballad about this one of the songs
Cock Party 2.
No, Cock Party 2 is a banger too, but
I love these song titles.
Gans Media Retro Games, which is basically like if Drinker's Remorse was a song about just like, am I the problem? And kind of looking internally at this of like, oh, I thought everyone feels this way every time that they're around people. Maybe there is actually something deeper wrong with me. There's also just some really, really heartbreaking tracks in here. Thinking specifically of Betty, which is this really gutting acoustic piece about losing a pet, which if you have ever lost a pet, it's something that is, this whole album is like one of my, they could all be on like my top played of the year, even though I just discovered this album late. And I skip that one almost every time because every time I hear it, it makes me think about my own animals, and it's like one of the most affecting things that you'll ever hear. Smack My Head Off, which is a song about,
you got to pronounce it how it's written.
Smacked My Head Off, which is really, it's funny until you hear it's a song about like losing a grandparent to dementia and watching them slowly drift away from you and not even remember you or your memories, or like your brother who died years ago and like mistaking you for them, and like all these really heady and heartbreaking ideas. But you can also just like, if you don't really listen to the lyrics of this song, you can just hear it sonically and it just fucking bangs. Like I think that that's one of the things that I mentioned it before we started recording, or maybe it was off mic, but there's a lot of bands that I really appreciated this year that I love a lot, like Spanish Love Songs and Movements, who released new albums this year. And in both their cases, they are trying to evolve their sound a little bit out of this emo space. And I think in both cases, it feels like, I don't want to say it's a step backwards to take 2 steps forwards, but like it's something where I'm happy that they're evolving their sound, but I think it doesn't create something that is as cohesive front to back as an album, where Hot Mulligan is kind of stepping up in a way that like Hot Mulligan is not a band that's been on my radar. I love like the song Equip Sunglasses from them this year, but otherwise I had never really listened to them before or given them the time of day, and it took seeing them live and seeing them headline for Spanish Love Songs for me to really check them out and get into them in this album. But I just think that this album it's perfect. It's truly is a perfect album front to back. I think if you're just looking for a place to enter into this album, the whole thing, it's really short. It's less than 40 minutes. I think it's
37
minutes. So there we go, baby.
12 songs.
It's a family movie. She hates her dad. Just a
love these tracks.
Perfect. It really is a throwback to the Fall Out Boy 2000s emo.
This is how long tracks should be.
The last track, John the Rock Cena, Can You Smell What the Undertaker?
It's so good. It's
a great track.
Incredible song titles.
Great vibes. Great album cover.
I will say, album cover, 10 out of 10. Like, I want to blow that up and get a giant poster of that in my house. It's one of my favorite album covers that like I've ever seen.
It's really good.
No Shoes in the Coffee Shop or Socks is I think that is like a perfect intro song to them to kind of take a listen to. It's a thing where it has the perfect blend of like you're listening to it and you're like kind of singing, humming along, and then like you kind of sing the lyrics and you're like, wait, I think there's something deeper under the surface here that he's kind of scratching on. It's just it's truly great. Like I have kind of no notes about it, that it snuck up on me. This is an album I just really started listening to in the last month and a half, 2 months, and it sky jumped scaring the host for me, because I'm not exaggerating when I say that like I listen to this album like 5 to 7 times a week now. Like I just kind of is constantly on the rotation. Every time I go to the gym, I just throw this shit on and it flows perfectly. It's so good. So just absolute masterpiece, stone cold.
We should have listened, guys.
Yeah.
Why
I'll say it.
would I watch by Hot Mulligan?
Hot Mulligan's really
Hunter's number
they're
one?
a great band. I need to get more into them. I didn't get into a lot of that generation. Like I never got into Wonder Years like you did, but Hot Mulligan I actually like even more than Wonder Years.
Hot Mulligans, I think they're considered the generation.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they are. They're like,
because Wonder Years technically got started like late 2000s.
No, yeah, Hot Mulligan is like Mom Jean's generation.
Yeah, I think they really came onto the scene like 2016 to 2018-ish. So they're all very younger. I will say, if you have the ability to see Hot Mulligan live wherever you are, go out and see them. That it was one of those things where it was like I saw them live and I was like, I need to give this album another shot. And then you listen to it and you're like, oh, I get everything that they are going for right now.
All right, that's Hunter's number one. My number one is Oh Monolith by Squid.
That's crazy.
So it's funny. I did not know that you even liked this album until we were driving around before your wedding, and you're like, "This might be my album of the year." And I was like, "Wait, what? Oh, this is it."
I was introduced to this band by Drew when you put Bright Green Field on your list that year.
Mm-hmm.
Was that 19, 20, something like that?
21?
21.
I don't remember. I feel like this album in a lot of ways is not as experimental as that album. I think that album was trying to do more just out there stuff. I feel like this album is so much more tighter and focused. But also it kind of has, it's not quite a concept album, but it has this feeling of you stepping into a world. And what I keep saying is like, I valued every single song giving you a complete idea. This album is 8 songs. It's so brief. It gets you in and out. You feel like you want more. That's my one complaint, is I wanted more. Give me a part 2. Give me, a deluxe version or something, because I felt like I wanted to keep living in this world. I think they're self-described as anxiety rock.
Yeah, anxiety rock, which I wrote down. It's like never been a more apt band description for
that's
themselves.
a description on Spotify.
Yeah,
It just says anxiety
They're-
rock.
I would go with more like noisy, heavy post-punk is what I would go with.
Yeah, like prog post punk.
It's like I put abstract alternative indie. And
It's
it has like very early Radiohead like vibes.
it's a lot. Radiohead gets way more like melodic than this. This
like
this has
early, like I'm
No,
talking like
I-
90s.
I
Like the
think that there's a
Bends.
lot of
Yeah.
Radiohead influence in this album specifically, especially whenever you talk about like the use of the vocoder and something like Siphon Song. That could just be, man, that's also my top tracks of the year.
Oh
just
my
fucking
God.
For me, my top track
perfect.
on this album is The Blades.
Oh, the Blades is so
Dude,
good.
It starts off so slow with like the weird time signatures, and all of a sudden it just slows down. And then it's just like when it just picks up and the horns come in, it's just like
It goes so
powerful.
hard,
It goes
dude.
so powerful. So the drummer is actually the vocalist.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And it's
love
We
that.
love a
it's
drummer
excellent.
vocalist.
Yeah,
That rocks.
hard to do.
Very hard to
shout out to Anderson .Paak. This album gets really like loud and unwieldy, and I feel like I really wanted to put Boy Genius at number 1 because I felt like that album is just, again, better produced. Like sonically, it just feels like more
Live a little,
like more, I don't know, professional, for lack of a better term. But Squid is just like, okay, maybe they didn't have the biggest budget behind this
Yeah,
record,
definitely not. They have
but
168K listeners monthly.
yeah, but it's just like there's so much personality behind this sound. And yeah, like I said, it's much more like listenable and palatable. But when you start to really dig into the actual lyricism and the inspiration behind it, they went out to the middle of nowhere in England to record this, and there is a lot of inspiration behind English folklore, stories of witches and demons behind this album. And it's not like a hard album to listen to, but there are moments where like, oh, it's getting a little atonal. You're getting a little bit of swans in here, a little bit of just kind of out there instrumentation. But I think what keeps it on the line is this singer who sounds so much like fucking Modest Mouse.
Yeah, Brock
It's-
Isaac. He's got a lot of Brock Isaac
I think
influence in him.
I think the leading single did such a terrible job of depicting like
That's
what
why.
the
That's
album
why I
sounds
never
like.
What was
listened
the
to this
leading
album
single?
much.
Was it
it's catchy,
Swing?
like Swing in a Dream. Yeah.
I love
Which
that
I
song.
really like that song
It's
as an
catchy, but I
opening.
felt like it didn't do a good job of depicting
I
what
think
you were going to
why isn't-
expect from this.
Why
album.
wasn't Undergrowth the lead single?
It was the second.
That should have
single.
been.
Oh, Undergrowth should have been, because Undergrowth is a banger. That, or it's not a single at all, but my favorite song on the album is Greenlight.
Greenlight is so good too. That's my
Greenlight's
second favorite.
Fucking
That
banger. It's
Siphon
so
song
good. So
are-
good.
Those are like my 3 that I just keep returning to and I cannot stop.
So
The
good.
Blades is just like it hits that itch of like that emo breakdown from when we were younger.
Mhm.
Oh my god. It's seriously like my first comment is this is a Drew band. Like you would love
Literally.
The fact that Drew's the only person without this on his list.
it's
I
my
know, I
that
first
makes Drew the true hipster here, is that he showed us this band and is like, actually, their follow-up
Damn,
isn't as good.
So y'all are like still listening to Squid.
the lyrics.
Damn, I'm
so
onto that
over.
Geese life.
So I put the lyrics are poetry. It has explosive highs. It gets very
It
moody.
just builds so much.
It's absolutely explosive, very moody. Watch the music videos. I think they add a different element to like what, like, listening to the album.
Is being 30 watching music videos again?
I'm telling you, they're
Sure.
great. I like to watch them like during work. Like
I
One thing that is very 30 is watch their KEXP performance from a couple years ago. It's like, it's crazy. The lady gets emotional. She loves it so much.
did you watch the KEXP for? I know it's sidetrack, but for Geese.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go. I want to
It's-
see that.
It's really good.
God,
And
I love
don't forget 4D Country. You got to listen to that too.
Mhm.
But
Write it down.
anyway.
Write it down. You writing
Write
it
it down.
down?
Are you
Write it
writing?
down. It's,
But
and
yeah.
it's weird. It's filled with chaos, but it still
Yes.
manages to bring you back like slowly every time.
Well, it's each song. That's what I'm talking about.
you don't
Like,
know what's happening.
You're getting every song is a complete thought. And as
It's
much
like
as I
anecdotes,
value
like little baby anecdotes.
as much as I value albums like the Janelle Monáe album or even the Silver Chord, like that just take you from one song directly into the next
Yeah.
seamlessly, I value when bands just they don't do that and they just give you every single song is independent. You don't need to, you can listen to it on shuffle if you want, and you're getting a complete idea, but it all fits within the same world. They have created an environment that all of these stories fit inside of, and that's what this album is. It's stories within stories. It's sonic and musical stories within each other, and I want to go back to that to Bright Green Field to kind of compare it a little bit to this, because I felt like that album was a little bit too abrasive and heavy for me, but there are moments in this album that are pretty abrasive and heavy.
Yeah,
So I kind of want to contrast it to see
how the manic outburst kind of, now that you have like more of an affinity to
Yeah.
it, if you can be more
It
drawn
like
into
it
everything.
like it slowly like brings you in though in this album, and that's what's beautiful about it.
Well,
it's
it's-
very progressive, but like it like slowly builds up.
exactly.
It's like catchy at the beginning, and then all of a sudden it's like, what's going on?
It's
And
gonna
then-
keep
and
devolving.
then it just like goes into something crazy.
Yeah.
you
It's not
know?
like, some of these songs are in the 4 to 5 minute range. Some are 6 minutes. You're not getting like nonstop, like wall to wall noise. There's a lot of up and down. You're really going from different types of sonic landscapes.
Mhm.
And man, at 8 tracks, like what more can you ask for? 41 minutes flat.
Jesus
Like,
Christ.
baby, come on. That is perfection. That is incredible.
I still
They
think
did it.
I still think it's so crazy you don't have this on this, man. 'Cause
I'm
it-
yeah, I'm in.
Of all the albums I listened to this year, this was the one that I never got tired of. And that's why I had to put it at number 1. Every single time I listened to it, I was like, all right, track 1 all the way. Let's go.
Mhm.
There was no, because some of the other albums I had on my list, I was like, all right, let's jump in, like, I don't know, track 4, track 5, like, let's just listen to the back half. Or
It's really, really well paced and well laid out album. Like whenever you think about just something, I mean, you mentioned about like the flow of something, like it makes me think of even something like Devil's Den, which is only the second track of the album. It starts out just like so slow and just kind of going, just, "It's the things I'll do, fucking things to you." And, it's like really
That was
just
pretty
fucking
good.
goes for it. Like
That was a good impression.
I've listened to this album a lot. It's a fucking banger of an album.
It's like it's the same thing with Geese. The same thing that happened. I got to it too late. This would be
Yeah.
much higher if I got to it earlier.
I
it's
do
gonna
think
stick with me.
if you like the Geese Squid like graph
The
of each other
Squeeze?
is kind of
Squeeze
might
is
just
a
be
band
circle.
as well. Squeeze is
Squeeze is also in the circle with Geese
Wow.
and Squid, actually.
one of the most underrated British bands of all time. Awesome
No,
band.
both great albums, but Squid, yeah, they were great too.
number 1, baby.
Banger.
Oh, Monolith.
Get 'em.
It was Hunter's 7.
My 7 as well.
And yep, there we go.
Damn.
Okay, let's do it.
Just one small bitch thing.
hmm
First off, fuck Elon Musk.
That sounded really good by all of us. we should keep that in.
All did really good job there. Stop scaring the hoes. Play that shit out and touch your toes. We don't want to hear the real shit no more.
So I
What the fuck is that? Give me back my X card.
I think almost all of my like most played songs from the year were on this album.
This is so.
Yeah.
This entire album.
it.
This entire album is on my top.
Yeah, like
albums or my top songs of the
it's-
year on Spotify.
It's just ridiculous how playable it is. It feels like it makes me want to like dry scoop pre-workout. and just like
Yeah.
sprint to the Planet Fitness and
Dude,
like
Let's just say it's
really upset some people.
Scaring the Hose by Danny Brown and JPEGMafia.
I haven't like
some might say JPEGMafia and Danny Brown.
so
Right.
this might be my favorite album of the 2020s. Like 'cause
Mm.
it's I haven't liked an album this much in a really long
I
time.
haven't listened to an album this much in a long time. Like I gotta let the play count speak for itself. It's just every track, I can hear endlessly. It's crazy.
So my top songs of 2023, it's like I think it's like 100 songs. Every single Scaring the Hose and the EP is
all
on
on
there.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Guess what, bitch? We back, ho.
Dude, I mean, even the B-sides are awesome, you know? I think both of them are excellent when they're alone, but there's something when they're both together, it's insane.
The reason it works, I think, is because JPEG is. I mean, I think he's one of the 5 best, like currently, like at his peak producers in hip hop that we have, and like the style of production he does is it really fits someone who sounds more like Danny than it JPEG. Like it fits someone who sounds insane. And JPEG doesn't sound insane. He has like a fairly normal delivery. He goes really loud, but like Danny naturally sounds like he's out of his mind.
Right.
And like that's what these beats work for. It's like a match made in heaven. It was really fun to hear like Atrocity Exhibition a few years ago, where like it was almost like a contrast thing, where like those beats were so dingy and dark and fucked up. And then his cartoon voice on top of it was fun. This is a whole different ball game. It's absolute perfection to me.
I think that this is my favorite rap album since RTJ2.
Wow.
I like really think of just whenever you think about like the most like stone cold banger laden albums to like ever come out in the history of alt rap. I think that this is like kind of near the tippy top, where it's just like, oh no, just front to back. There's just kind of no skips. The amount of like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do that in music moments that are on this album. It's just kind of, it's incalculable, where it's just one of those things where it's like, I've never heard a sound like that before.
Well, kind of what I was
And
saying
here it
about Olivia Rodrigo, kind of like stripping back the expectations of what she should sound like as a pop artist. These guys do away with what you expect a hip hop album to sound like in the year 2023. They kind of, in a lot of ways, they take it back to the basics of what hip hop started as
sampling.
with sampling.
It's just samples.
Samples on top of samples on top of samples.
And
but
then-
they do it with this technology that we have now.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's also so like hyper modern, because like he's always done this, but like in every single song on this, he samples something. Could be literally anything. It's like at one point it's like a Japanese commercial from like the 80s.
It feels so experimental.
Yeah, it is. But he'll sample that, and then he'll put like crazy 808s on top, and it's sped. And that's what makes it sound so modern to me, is like these beats just like go quick. Like they really
go hard in the whip.
They do.
They doink in the whipperooski.
You got a new one. Speeding around
I hate
town.
that word, doink. I hate that word. Yeah, it's a spectacular album. It's so experimental. It's something, because I like kind of liked both. Like I kind of like JPEG. I kind of like Danny Brown, but together they are
Something new.
Yeah.
just
They're
insane.
scaring the hose.
Yeah.
It's the leveled up. I wanted to. The reason why I had this at 1, I moved it at the last minute, but I wanted to keep this at 1 because it's almost kind of in the same way. It's like a mirroring of having Katronada and Amine at my number 10, where it's like the marriage of these two bringing out the best in each other. This is like the umpteenth version of that, where I have always, JPEG's album a couple years ago was on my top 10. I can't remember where it was, but I think Atrocity Exhibition, whenever that came out in like 2016, 2017.
Well, I
we
wanted
had a
to
podcast
say
then that would have been up there. Like that was one of those, but this is truly the best thing that either of them have ever been a part of.
Danny Brown put out another out. Like,
He put one out
Yep.
this
yeah.
year.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. I wanted to bring that up, but Atrocity came out 2016. You know what I'm saying? Came out 2019.
That's what
I
I'm saying.
love.
You know what I'm saying?
That made my list
That's a
that
great-
year.
It's a great
I
album.
love Danny Brown, and I gotta say, his album this year was not anything to write home about. But
It's his sober album.
Yeah, we can talk about that. All his magic was put directly into Scaring the Hose. And I think that it's
the JPEG effect on
I hate to say it because I love Danny, but he really, like, his producer really affects how good his album's going to be. Like, whoever is making the tracks. And even, I mean, because he's also, like, in terms of sobriety, all over the fucking map. He didn't even write a single song on Atrocity Exhibition. Like,
wow.
He didn't write those lyrics. That you can look up the credits.
Jeez.
So like it really, really varies with him. And then JPEG is just like a force of nature, like all over every single beat. It's the funnest thing in the world is for this album going on whosampled.com to like read what the samples are. If you get on like Garbage Pail Kids, contains 3 samples. The first one is Famicom Sports Collection commercial by Nintendo in 1983. The second one is Hokkaido commercial by Nichiro, 1985. And then the third is Zillion OP Performs a Miracle, which I don't even know what that is.
Fucking JPEG he's the most genius person that we have like working.
Well, in a lot of ways, I feel like
insane.
he has given the platform to Danny. Like, I think I love that they've co-branded this project, but to me, this feels a lot like a Danny project, a Danny Brown project, because he's using his production as a platform for Danny's delivery. I don't know if there's a lot of moments where you really feel like JPEG's rapping is the stage. It's his production.
It's interesting that you say that because I feel like this is a lot more of a JPEG project than
because of the production.
And I feel like it's almost like a directing versus starring kind of thing.
Right.
Like I feel like that's almost like a better comp for it, where it's like a JPEG directed this thing and it's starring Danny Brown.
Is it Nolan or Killian?
I think it's like a 40-60 kind of thing.
Sure.
Like where JPEG, but also the production like really makes it seem more like a JPEG.
It also would not be the same without either part. Like they truly do enhance each other in the most beautiful way.
Goes back to the Run the Jewels comparison.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why this is like listening to it. It brought me back to the first time that I ever heard RTJ2, and I was like, oh shit! Wait, what
is there going to be a Scaring the Hose
you can fucking do?
I hope so. The thing is, like RTJ2 felt so much more like constructed, while this was just like a fucking blast of.
It
like a jam.
Feels
it's
more
like
improvised in a way that's fun.
Exactly, like they're just in the studio fucking around.
Yeah, it's like it's a like his tactics with these beats is like it's like brute force. Like he's going to make this make sense. You like no matter
documentary.
No,
it's the YouTube video of like them, and JPEG is literally. I think he's on his laptop in like a shitty living room, and he just has Danny sitting on like I think it's like a fucking ottoman like footrest, and he's just like, okay, start rapping, and he just keeps trying over and over. It's the brute force method. He just keeps going over and over, trying to make the lyrics sound good. It's like I don't know how to describe it because. This isn't something that I would have liked forever ago. This is the closest I'll get to 100 Gecs. I'll say that now.
They're very similar.
This is the closest I'll ever get. This just, I think it's because I previously liked these two and there's not that much auto-tune.
Right. All right. Well,
Danny famously hates T-Pain.
We are past the 3.5 hour mark of recording, so we should probably.
It's 2 different parts, so we're fine.
We should probably wrap it up with honorable mention. So, Scaring the Hose is Danny's and Drew's number 1, Hunter's number 2, and my number 5. I think will end up being our collective number 1. Right?
This is the highest ranking.
There we go.
It has to be.
My phone just died, so I'll run off just some of my top list. You guys highlight a bunch of them. New Proto Martyr album came out this year.
It's in my top 15.
It's in my top 16, 17. Really, really love it a lot. I don't love it as much as the last 2 albums, but it's really good. You mentioned a live album, Drew. I did want to shout out the live album by Black Country New Road, live at Bush Hall.
With the singer?
No, so here's the thing. It's without the singer.
Oh, how does it work?
So there's a couple of really good tracks on there, but I am worried about them long term because he did add so much to the band.
Well, he wrote all those songs.
All of them, yeah.
Yes.
And then in hindsight, you look back and you're like, oh, my boy was crazy depressed. Of course, he didn't want to be in a band after writing these songs. But yeah, just wanted to highlight those.
So here's my basically my 11 through 20. Just all the songs all the albums I had to cut out. The Lil Yachty album.
I am shocked that it didn't.
Ernest,
Ernie, I'm kind of disappointed
I'm
in
mad.
you for not putting
It was
that
in
on your
there.
list.
I made a call. Not to.
Black Seminole.
It's a really, really great album. I feel like
It's kind of long. Is that why? It's a little bit lengthy
It's,
for you.
it's like an 18 song, ain't it?
Let's start
It's
here. It's
chunky.
57 minutes.
It's chunky.
That's cracking the top end.
It's a cool album.
It's
and
a
if-
really good one.
Well, and if you want to speak toward, like I was saying earlier, how maybe in the last episode, how you can't redo the Gorillaz in 2002. He is doing a little bit of something that no one's quite done before. He found a little avenue of something new, and I think that's cool.
It's a good listen,
especially with how fucking dog shit he used to be. He was
I think-
really
yeah.
bad.
I
And
think that is a true that album is a big highs versus lows thing where there's very, very clear skippable tracks for me
Yeah.
in that album. And whenever
but there's some really great ones.
yeah, exactly. And whenever we do this list, I generally try to gravitate towards more cohesive ideas versus the highs.
So maybe some shorter albums with fewer tracks. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not. I mean,
Okay.
if it's longer and it's bangers, then
I also wanted to shout out Portugal the Man,
Mm-hmm.
their new album.
what's up, Portugal the Man?
Chris Black changed my life.
Feel
Come
It
on,
Still
guys.
Part 2.
Come on, guys. Portugal the Man is not that bad.
Hey, here's the thing.
They
Don't
make good music.
Hey, don't pray for us. We don't need no modern Jesus.
It's okay to make down the middle pop rock music. That's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They can make that, and then they put something new out, and you feel it still.
Black Thought is on here. Unknown Moral Orchestra, which I'll also shout out their album, is really good. Paul Williams is in here. It's a good album. It's a good one. Tennis put out a great album this year.
Yeah,
That's a good
Pollen.
Tennis is cool.
Paul.
Yeah.
Cool band name.
M83.
That's a really
Fantasy,
good album.
was it?
Honestly, a great album to work to.
Yeah. Very ethereal,
Yes.
ambient sound.
I think that I am in general gonna kind of weigh M83 stuff against Junk because I love Junk so much more, even more than Don't Wake Us, We're Sleeping or whatever the fuck it is. I love Junk so much, and it doesn't quite meet up to that as far as bangers go, but it's still really good.
Also, I think you brought it up, Drew. Queens of the Stone Age put out an album this year
Yeah,
that I thought was
they
pretty
did.
good. My beloved James Blake put out an album.
Yeah.
Very
Sure did.
angular, blocky album. A lot of sharp edges on that album, which is
Is being 30 synesthesia?
which is not what
It was purple. And it made me feel kind of cold. It made me grab a jacket. As I was
Just-
listening.
not what I love from James Blake, but I like that he's doing that because that's what he used to do before he really blew up. He used to do a lot of more this kind of weird shit.
Yeah.
And then Don Toliver. You guys check out the Don Toliver
Listen,
album.
my brother, that's my number 11.
Okay.
I
Pop off.
don't know what it is about that guy, but I love his sound. He's got nothing to say that matters at all. He has great production. He has great hooks. That's what he's got.
I've never listened to a Don Toliver album. I like Don Toliver songs and Don Toliver features. I've
It's-
never listened to a full
it's a good
album
one.
by him.
This isn't as good as the last one, but it's a good album. And I again, talking play count, it would be in my top 10. I listen to it all the time.
Same. What else? Mitski.
Mitski is really good. That's one that I kind of came to late. A couple really good tracks on that one.
Remy, I think you mentioned. Sufjan. Jesse Ware put out a great dance album. Sampha. Daniel Cesar.
Sampha is really good.
That's a good one.
It's
Yeah.
a really good one.
Caliucci.
Danielle Caesar, you mean Frank Puddle?
Disclosure.
Yeah.
Our guys.
That's a good album.
Our
Fun
fellas.
little electronic, yeah.
Yeah, it's good electronic. It's not as good as like classic Disclosure,
Well, yeah.
but it's
Local Natives.
Yeah.
Solid one. Killer Mike.
Yeah.
I never really listened to
Michael.
that. Yeah.
You know,
It's pretty good.
it's all right.
Um,
Can I shout out if we're talking like I didn't want to put it on the list because it's an EP and it felt not really fair to cram it in here, but Origami Angel put out an EP this year, The Brightest Days, that is a really big reinvention of their sound. I kind of think that Origami Angel just kind of can do no wrong.
Nice.
Like I like every project that they do, and even they were just like, we're gonna release like a summer indie laden sound album that's still gonna sound uniquely like Origami Angel, and it's great. It's really, really good.
Good on them. I got two more. It's just Deerhoof Miracle Level. Really, it's just a plug to go down the wormhole of Deerhoof because they've put out like 1 billion albums since like 2000, and it's a wild band, very influential. And then Genesis Owusu.
yeah. Genesis Owusu Struggler,
Yeah.
also Australian.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something in the water.
Something
Genesis
in the water.
Owusu Struggler was a really good album. I had Unknown here as well. Sampha was also another really good one.
I really want to give that one a few more listens. I feel like
I didn't
I'm
listen
gonna.
to I think I
Yeah.
only listened to it once and I didn't really give it that.
And then I had
bullshit.
one more in the King Gizzard realm, the Murlocs. Calm Ya Farm.
Australian.
Is that another?
Well,
Australian?
he's it's two guys from King Gizzard.
Oh, it's like a side project.
Yeah.
Nice. I'll also shout out the Across the Spider-Verse soundtrack, Metro Boomin.
Yeah.
Shout out.
It honestly like
It's pretty solid.
it's the best
Hummingbird.
the best music or best movie soundtrack kind of thing since Black Panther. It's not as good as Black Panther, but it's the best one since then.
Also Barbie.
That and Barbie are both really good.
Dance the night away.
I mentioned before, we didn't mention Hell Mode by Jeff Rosenstock, which is actually my number 11.
Our friends shouted out albums. Harry shouted out the Hives the Hives put out an album called The Death of Randy Fitzsimmons. And then Dane, he is a full-on Jeff Rosenstock.
Like honestly, that was my number 11. It's a really, really good album. It is right on par with No Dream. If you like Jeff Rosenstock or that kind of genre, like check it out. It's a really good album. Wanted to shout out, I mentioned him before, but Spanish Love Songs, No Joy has, I think, a pretty perfect first half to the album, and in the second half, it gets a little bit too sad, and like it doesn't quite have the bangers of Brave Faces. Everyone,
Is
their
his
last
phone
album that
back
came out.
on? What
I
happened?
turned it back on. I'm at 1% reading
Oh
through
my
the battery
God.
here. Just to
Tim
shout out.
Cook?
Just to shout out Spanish Love Songs and then Movements Ruckus for my other indie pop punk
Wow.
boys. A really good album. And
Is
then
Fall Out Boy on there?
last couple wanted to throw on here. Blonde Shell. Have you guys ever listened to Blonde Shell? If not, definitely recommend them. Recommend her. Female singer songwriter indie and Bully.
Yes.
Bully is a very throwback to like kind of that like a 90s, almost like Alanis Morissette
Bully was
vibe.
good.
Really good album. Should put out this year.
Maneskin, the Italian rock outfit.
Mm-hmm.
That was a dad recommend. Shout out to Rafa.
Shout out to Rafa.
The Front Bottoms, dog shit.
Wow, I was gonna say, are we gonna
I
do
was
at
like,
least
it was
honorable
so
mentions
good.
or
Sorry, I mean I love my boys.
you know what?
You're invited on the pod.
Here's
any
the thing,
point, Brian.
Brian. I am happy that you kind of know your place and you guys play a lot of older stuff whenever you play live.
We love the Front Bottoms.
And I appreciate that.
The Toro y Moi EP and
Yeah.
the Tyler the Creator bonus tracks
Oh yeah,
from Call Me If You Get Lost.
That album still goes absolutely nuts.
If he would have put out another album of all the B-sides, it probably would have made my top 10.
Yeah.
That shit went off.
It's insane. Hopefully some new stuff next year or this year from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, boys. We did it.
Good work, everybody.
2024. is here. Happy New Year. We bid goodbye to music in 2023. Thank you so much, Danny, for coming on.
Of course.
We're going to have you again for the Tom v. Tom series.
Yeah, I'm
Should we spoil the episode?
Movie? Oh, I mean, it's up to you. I don't care.
Castaway.
Wilson!
That's towards the end.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna
it'll
say
be a while.
we gotta. We'll get to you in like 2.5 years when we get to that episode.
That's cool.
Thanks so much for coming on,
No
man.
problem. Of course.
We love
Always
it. We love it. That might actually end up lining up with mid-year draft.
Jesus
Might as well
Christ.
knock in both. Might as well do it on a Saturday and just get in at 2 and, then have a party after.
Double whammy it.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe, like, and comment. Let us know your thoughts on our top 10 albums each. How many albums did we talk about? So many.
I'd
Of
say 40, but there
of
was
2023.
30.
Check out webottomike.net and get every episode in your inbox. Join the Discord. Donate. Thank you, beautiful donors, for donating. Thank you, Run P, for sponsoring this episode.
When would
Best
you
time
guys
during
have
this
peed?
pod to take a piss.
Best album to pee.
Well, Danny did like carve out the paint for Bombay Bicycle Club. So
I love pissing to King Gizzard. That's my favorite album to piss to.
you know what? That's the only time that I've ever listened to them.
It's in the toilet.
Yeah, and that's why I've never gotten into them, is because I take
'Cause he
really
hasn't
fast
finished
peas,
dripping
and I'm
tap
like,
yet.
there's still 7.5 minutes left.
Yeah, because you haven't finished dripping tap yet. You're still going.
You're not 30.
Drip, drip in the tap.
So
don't slip.
your prostate is still
Drip,
good.
drip in the top, don't slip.
Okay.
And you gotta keep dripping. You gotta
Yeah.
keep dripping the tap.
Jesus Christ. Hey, we broke it up into 2 parts. There was time to pee in between.
Next week, it's TV.
Television.
Oh boy.
Best
That's
TV.
tough. That's
Freaking
tough.
sick.
It's okay. I'm definitely not cramped.
Doing like a top 3. I could
I
maybe
think we can do 5.
I
We
could
probably do 5.
I could fill out a strong 3.
about a 5.
I'll donate the way people do with their time in public
No,
comment. Like I'll
Drew-
cede my spaces to Ernest.
You can do
Drew,
you can do Survivor as 2 separate.
Drew, you can get really abstract with the idea of TV. Like I found this one YouTube channel, and that is my favorite TV show of the year.
Yeah, my number
try.
8 is Skibbity Toilet.
Yeah, that's it. You get it.
Oh my god.
Thanks again, Danny.
Man, no problem. Have fun.
Thank you all.
Love you.
Love you. Bye bye.
Bye.